Gaming news today is all about PlayStation, Mark Cerny, PSSR 2.0, and closing the gap on PC. In case you missed it, Mark once again sat down with the boys at Digital Foundry, and he had some very interesting things to say. I think we have some of our first hints about what they have planned next for PS5 Pro, the PlayStation 6, and very likely the rumored PlayStation handheld. There was even an update to Horizon Forbidden West, once again pushing out the low power modes to more games. They could be gearing up for that handheld announcement. Digital Foundry also had some very high praise for PSSR 2 and what it is already doing. There was also a surprising bit of information in the interview about the first round of PSSR 2 games. They weren't actually patched, and we'll talk about that in a moment, which is directly related to some of my predictions about the PlayStation 6. So if you're watching this later, make sure you guys are hitting the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We are trying to get to 600 paying members, and we are at 546. So you can help us get there. We're getting closer every day. Click the join button. For $5 a month, you get a badge and emotes, but you also get access to my members-only Discord, and it is how I do this full-time. We are a fan-funded channel. So let's get into this. Mark Cerny continues to set his sights on closing the gap between what the PlayStation console can offer and the tech and the image quality of PCs. Project Amethyst, the collaborative effort with AMD, has already yielded very promising results. FSR 4 was one of the first major deliverables, and now it has come back to the PlayStation in the way of an update to PSSR with PSSR 2.0. Now, I want you to remember all of the claims that FSR was going to replace PSSR and that PSSR had failed. Well, that was a fundamental misunderstanding. Some of that was willful misunderstanding and misrepresentation of what Mark Cerny said back when this topic first came up. I attempted at the time to point out the nuance because it seemed to me very clear that PSSR would simply be the updated version of itself by learning things from what was developing with FSR in that fourth update. Primarily because FSR 4 clearly benefited from PSSR 1.0. So as expected, the PSSR 2 update is landing, and it's making things for the PS5 Pro even better. It seems like those early declarations about the Pro being a scam or being overpriced continue to look more and more foolish and bankrupt as time goes on. I've even been seeing folks lately who are pretty big proponents of PC. They're admitting that the value of dollars to performance of the Pro is becoming more and more compelling with every update. And in this interview with Mark Cerny, Digital Foundry calls the latest upgrade to PSSR transformative. And Cerny kicks off the interview driving home what I've been sensing for a while. His goal is to close the gap on PC. He said the following: as both SIE and AMD have just released their refreshed models, it will be an excellent test for how closely we can match our systems. He's basically saying that FSR and PSSR will continue to update, and they're going to test just how close they can get these systems to be. At some level, this will even help developers in the future if they're developing games for both PC as well as the PlayStation 5 Pro or the PlayStation 6. And he seems to think they're already very close. Here's what he said. In practice, the same model is used, but it's trained on different data. E.g., if targeting a 2-to-1 fixed upscale, then the training data used is just for that upscaling ratio, and that different training results in different parameters. Having said that, not seeing too much difference in results, the various flavors in the updated FSR upscaling really are rather close to the new PSSR. Now, Digital Foundry chimes in at this point, and they agree that the recent update to PSSR is impressive, and this is what they say. The increase in quality of the new PSSR up against the old is highly impressive. In all the tested titles we've looked at so far, overall quality is higher, while the most egregious issues seen in the first-gen PSSR are all but eliminated. Now, Cerny was then asked about whether or not the extra quality would come at the cost of performance, and Mark said that this thought had a direct impact on whether or not they would give the users the ability to toggle the Enhance PSSR option at a system level on their PlayStation 5 Pros. He said that the only way this would make sense is if, quote, the new PSSR would have to be faster than the original one. So apparently they hit their target. Here's what he said. We made that our target and ultimately managed to achieve it. The new PSSR is something like 100 microseconds faster than the original, which in turn allowed us to implement the Enhance PSSR Image Quality option to force upgrade all PSSR supported games. If you use it, frame drops should become oh so slightly rarer. Now, Digital Foundry at this point comments, and they say that the data backs up this claim, and they give examples in like Monhun Wilds, which leads to something I did not expect to hear. Apparently, the first round of games for PSSR 2 were not actually patched. Cerny stated that, quote, patching games can be a fairly tedious process, so the recent system software included a driver update that recognizes the 11 titles we announced, like Silent Hill 2, and substitutes the new PSSR. In all cases, this was done at the request of the developers and was based on their broad QA of their games. Now, he goes on to say that going forward, a few titles will be patched, but overall, it sounds like the goal will not be requiring devs to have to patch anytime there's a new version of PSSR that comes out. Now, admittedly, he says there are some smaller issues that can arise when you turn on the feature, but it is worth it when 99% of the games that are running now look better. Digital Foundry seemed to agree that in the 20-plus games they have looked at, there were a few oddities here and there, but overall, they see it as a net win. Cerny then went on to say that work with AMD is going well and that, quote, I'm very happy with how that work is progressing, and an equivalent frame generation library should be seen at some point on PlayStation platforms. Now, you guys hear that frame gen, and people get upset. There are folks who have very strong opinions about frame gen, and they don't want to see it come to PlayStation or consoles in general. Here's the thing. There's a lot of stigma about this. There was a lot of stigma about upscaling. There are still people that get really weird about upscaling. They act like native is the only way to play a game, which is ignorant of how most people use their PCs, and it's also ignorant about how most of the consoles are achieving good fidelity with image quality and resolution. Upscaling tech has gotten very, very good, to the point that the average user cannot tell the difference. To be fair, most of us wouldn't even have a clue that it's happening if they didn't have these tech breakdowns and the analysis telling us about it. And for a while I've said that tech like upscaling and even frame gen would likely not just help get more out of smaller power jumps in hardware that we'll be getting in the future, it will also help handheld gaming devices get better performance with their lower power thresholds. You will notice that Cerny said a version of frame gen would at some point land on, quote, PlayStation platforms. Now, to me, that's a pretty strong clue that all the work being done with PSSR and even future versions of frame gen is related to more than just the PS5 Pro and the PlayStation 6. When we heard rumors about an actual PlayStation handheld, I theorized at the time that maybe they made a breakthrough with PSSR, and that was related to them saying they thought they could do a handheld and get the level of performance that people would want to see. I have it on very good authority that a better version of the PlayStation Portal is due sometime this year. I think that means next year will be the handheld, 2027. And the way the interview closes may even point to that. Digital Foundry asked about when we might see things like frame gen or ray regeneration showing up on the Pro or even the PlayStation 6 in the future. And listen to what Mark Cerny said. He said, great questions, particularly considering that FSR frame generation is technology that was co-developed between SIE and AMD. We're intimately familiar with it. All I can say is that we have no more releases planned for this year, and that I look forward to discussing this more in the future. Now, this is obviously a bit of a dodge, but I think it points to next year, meaning they're not going to do anything right now. This is their big update for the PS5 Pro right now, and then next year we will likely see other updates, and I think they're targeting using the PS5 Pro as kind of a runway to the PlayStation 6. We've also heard that when the handheld should be showing up. There's been rumors, there's been sort of speculation about, it'll be next year. Now, I could see the PS5 Pro continuing to serve as a great testing ground for the PlayStation 6. Based on what Cerny has said, it sounds like all PSSR enhanced games on the Pro will get an automatic bump anytime they update the tech. Now, what this means is, very likely, that the PlayStation 6 will just automatically play all those games better, as it will have the latest and the best version of PSSR out of the box. So, you're going to open up a PlayStation 6 And you're going to put that in your living room, and anything that's a PS5 Pro Enhanced game will likely benefit from the most updated versions of PSSR on that PlayStation 6. Now, I have said for a while they're doing this to build cartilage between the generations, especially since it feels like that we are fastly approaching the end of this generation. It seems to have kind of come out of nowhere. Between 1 to 3 years, we will be seeing the launch of the PlayStation 6. Now, devs will enjoy knowing that all their work done on the PS5 and the Pro, especially with PSSR, will inevitably benefit their game on the PlayStation 6 as well. So, what is there to conclude about this? Well, for starters, calling the Pro a scam has aged like milk left out in the sun. It's like the exact inverse of a scam, since the value of the device has only increased since purchase date. Calling something a scam that's been updated and made better and had its value increased, meaning when we purchased it, it wasn't as good as it is now, that is, by definition, the opposite of a scam. It's more like an investment. Side note, the same could be said about the PlayStation Portal, another device that was decried as DOA or dumb or a scam, and yet it's only gotten better with time with the recent updates to the Portal. They added cloud, which I was told they wouldn't be able to do that, and they did, but they just added the max resolution update. Be sure to check out my video about my testing that I did and how you want to use that. The other thing to conclude is that PlayStation is all in on making their future hardware as good as possible. The foresight to see the need for these types of advancements in the face of future power jumps delivering diminishing returns, I think, is a solid strategy. It honestly has me excited for what they're able to pull off with their own handheld, as the biggest reason for not pulling the trigger on current handhelds is I just don't think the performance is there. The Portal is great for remote play and cloud play, but it's not my primary way of gaming on the go. My next big trip that I'm going to take, flying and, traveling with my family, I will likely take my Nintendo Switch 2. It's just easier, I think, because Wi-Fi in airports, Wi-Fi in airplanes can be inconsistent, making the Portal less, I think, conducive to travel right now. It also makes me hopeful about a PlayStation 6 and the investment payoff now with AMD and Project Amethyst. It should yield results for devs now as they invest in PSSR as well as other types of enhancements. One of the reasons I predicted that the PlayStation 5 Pro would be industry disruptive is because it was clear that the target wasn't just gamers who wanted the best out of a console. Cerny's strategy was to target developers and what they want, and that already seems to be paying off. Plenty of developers are excited to leverage the PS5 Pro as well as PSSR. In the future, I think this can be even more seamless and frictionless. That seems to be the goal with the hardware that they're building. And that just makes the games basically look better, and that also helps third-party developers as well. Your first-party developers obviously are going to love it, but then third-party developers can come in and benefit from the investment in the tech. They will likely, I think, continue to attract the attention of studios out there, which is important because PC is such a large audience. You don't want developers to start primarily targeting PC and forgetting about your console, which I think what they're doing right now will benefit devs, it'll benefit the games, and ultimately, I think it benefits us, the consumers. But those are just my thoughts. And now it's time to hear your thoughts. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you guys so much for being here. I combed over that whole interview, pulled out what I thought was the most pertinent points, and I really do think they're targeting closing the gap on PC. That seems to be the ultimate goal here. Make sure you guys have hit the like button. We already have 100 likes on the video. Let's set our sights on 200. I've only been streaming for about 10 minutes, so thank you guys so much for being here. I kind of heard this whisper in the wind before that PlayStation was wanting to close that gap on PC, and I think Cerny's kind of now saying that in the public. It's like, we want these models to be similar. We want them to be close, because if you think about it, I'm not saying that PlayStation will ever catch PC, but they're wanting to close the gap. The actual benefits you're going to be getting from hardware jumps in the future, we have all admitted we're going to be getting diminishing returns. So that means if you're getting diminishing returns from your updates, you're diminishing returns from like a new GPU or a new CPU, or like you go to update your PC, we're hearing like, well, you're going to get diminishing returns. They're going to have to start to lean on things like upscaling and frame gen. Well, if the technology that's making upscaling and frame gen better is on PC as well as the future PlayStation, then that gap has closed significantly, because you're not just going to be able to like power brute force your way in PC land to be like, oh, but my PC is so much stronger. As those returns diminish from those hardware leaps, the gap, I think, between what PlayStation is going to put in your living room and the high-end rig you can put in your office, I don't think the gap goes away, but I think the gap is shrinking. I think that's the goal, is that the fidelity to the user, if it becomes interchangeable, like right now, if you booted up Resident Evil 9 on a Pro and you put it on a nice big television and you did a showcase to consumers, and then you took a really, really strong PC and you did the same thing, you did like a showcase of RE9, the average consumer is going to be like, I don't see much of a difference. Certainly not a difference that would warrant the price difference. I think that's fundamentally what it's going to come down to, is top-level rigs and staying at the front of the wave of technology is expensive. And if you can bypass all that, throw something in your living room for $600 or $700, that really settles the issue for so many consumers that are considering this type of a purchase. Most of PCs are outdated by year 2 year logic. Are you talking to me? Who are you talking to? Oh, someone's saying even if the console could be exactly what PC has at launch, in 2 years it's outdated. That's true of anything you do in your PC. I think Hotshot's correct to point that out. The point that I'm making is not that they're going to remove the gap between PC and console. They're going to shrink it. And some of that's not even of their own doing. Some of that's just the sheer nature of the fact that we're getting diminishing returns from the hardware jumps. If you're getting hardware jumps that just aren't having those huge leaps anymore, and you're having to leverage things like upscaling and frame gen, and you have the latest and greatest upscaling and versions of frame gen on console, then console, PlayStation 6 in particular, is going to be hitting very close to that weight class. It has to close the gap while still being under $1,000. I don't personally care about the price, speaking purely based on average consumer. No, I think you're correct, Crimson Red. I don't think they would want to come to the market with something that's more expensive than $1,000. I kind of agree with you. The average consumer is going to be pretty compelled by, $600 or $700 price point. Once you get to the $800 to $1,000 range, you're going to start losing people. And I need to thank Joker Quinn. Han shot first, and so did you, the first gifted member of the day. We are ahead of pace by 7. So you want to end the day at 200 to be on pace for that Saturday stream with Madam. Zubair says, the point of high-end rigs will be to play high fidelity at high frame rates. Up to 60, it'll be a very similar experience. I think that's very well stated. I do think that will start to become the dividing line. It will no longer be about, I can run ray tracing and path tracing. Well, yeah, I believe those things are likely to come to the PlayStation 6 as well. Oh, well, I get really good upscaling and really good frame gen. Yes, again, I think those things are likely going to be landing on the PlayStation 6, according to Mark Cerny himself. I think what Zubair is saying is exactly right. The difference will be, but I can do that and do it at 120 frames. I can do that and do that at 200-something frames. Like, that's going to be the dividing line. That won't be the target for the living room, and it honestly doesn't have to be. I don't think the average consumer is going to care about that. If it's really, really pretty and it's running smoothly, which I believe 60 looks very smooth on a TV screen, especially because you sit a little bit farther away from it. John Lindemann actually talked about that in the Digital Foundry podcast episode they just did. He was like, when you're really close, to your monitor and a PC gamer, you're gonna be noticing maybe more image quality things. He was starting to basically talk about how the image quality is getting so close. Like what the Pro is able to do at an image quality level, usually when, you'd throw it on a monitor, he would pick up on those image quality differences. He was basically saying, like, that's not as easy to do anymore because it's just doing such a good job with image quality. Let's see here. What about next-gen gameplay loops and next-gen gameplay mechanics? Well, this is something we talked about before. Thank you for the 100 bits wired rope. He says, price to performance, you can't beat the PS5 Pro. No one can argue that without looking like a fool. Well, go back and watch all their videos. They're still there. I mean, all those guys look like fools that said all the things they said, that it was an overpriced scam. I mean, you talk about aging like milk. Good golly. There's no way to save those takes. Those takes were garbage back then, and they look even worse now. It's, to me... I kind of agree with what S3 Plan is thinking here. Like the logic being, if you start to get to like a ground level where you're very, very confident that your game can basically be developed at levels of fidelity that's just a standard thing. It's like, yeah, well, we can just, use the ray tracing and hit 60 and use upscaling to get nice res. Yeah, start using some of that extra headroom to do cool stuff with the physics or the world or load times. There's a lot of things I think that they could start to leverage when they're not sitting here worried about like, oh, well, we did some cool stuff with lighting. Now we got to optimize and fiddle around with performance. if you just sort of raise the overall performance and image quality of games with things like, good upscalers, I think that probably helps significantly. Remember that homie that just said buy 2 PCs? I don't remember that. I remember Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers telling people to buy a $1,400 PC from Best Buy that was weaker than the Pro, which I thought was interesting. It's like it was literally double the price. It was like spend twice as much money for something that was not as impressive technically. It was very strange. It was a strange time. I think, personally, this is just my personal opinion, I think that initial PlayStation 5 Pro technical presentation and all the information that started coming out of Digital Foundry, I think some of those PC boys were in their feels. I think they were rattled. They were like, wait a minute, some of the stuff that we get to brag about is starting to show up on console. Console's starting to hit levels of, image quality and fidelity while maintaining 60 frames per second, and that really shrinks that gap. It was pretty easy to look at a PlayStation or a Series X and say, hey, that's nice, but my PC is so much better. When some of that tech starts showing up on the $700 console, well, again, if they would have been using just basic technical analysis instead of reacting emotionally, they would have said, wait a minute, this thing is $700 and it's going to be hitting those thresholds of performance? I can't build a PC that does that for $700. Instead of doing like the performance per dollar analysis, they just reacted emotionally. And I think it was because, hey, wait a minute, you're kind of encroaching on our territory. This is what we get to talk about. We get to talk about really nice lighting and upscaling and maintaining frames per second. Console, if you want to turn all those things on traditionally, you lose frames per second. It's a pretty, significant sacrifice, because that is, I think, a significant sacrifice. That's why people that were like, oh, just play Crimson Desert on quality mode. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to cut the frame rate in half. Goodness gracious. That is exactly why the Pro was marketed, so we didn't have to do that anymore. Zubair says it's so backwards. PC boys should want path tracing on console, so we get more path tracing in general. That's a very logical way of thinking about it. If you start to have, Project Amethyst starts to yield upscaling, frame gen, path tracing, whatever tech that comes out with lighting, all these future fancy terms they're going to use, the more that shows up on console, the more game devs are going to say, this stuff is really cool, and we can put more of it in games now because there's more places for it to show up and really show off our game. That's exactly right. Joker Quinn says, I still see PC boys calling the Pro a scam to this day. It's equal parts depressing and hilarious. Well, I mean, I don't really have a response to people. It's like, it's so difficult to respond without basically being like, you're either being willfully dishonest and like misleading, the people that pay attention to you, whether you have a big Twitter account that people follow, or you have a big YouTube channel, or you stream or something. It's like, why would you just willfully mislead people? Why not put the options in front of people and then let them make a decision? Like, I've consistently told people that have come in here and they're like, well, what do you think I should do? This is what I'm thinking about doing with my money. And I've been like, I told a guy the other day, I was like, I would get a PC if I were you. Just what he described and what he was looking for. I was like, yeah, I'd get a PC. Like, it doesn't bother me in the least to promote a piece of hardware that, like, I don't primarily use for gaming. I don't. I do not use my PC primarily for gaming, but I primarily use my PlayStation 5 Pro. But you'll notice when someone comes in, I'm not like, oh, the Pro is the best, only get the Pro, ignore all these people that say PC is good. I'm like, no, PC is great if it's going to meet your needs, if it's going to do the things that you want. There are plenty of reasons to get a PC. I mean, for Pete's sakes, one of the reasons I'm interested in Steam Machine and Project Helix is because I would like a PC in my living room. That means that I like PC to some degree. My PC bro is constantly calling the Pro a PS5 PSO. He hates it. That just feels like, that doesn't feel like an intellectual response. I think he meant to put POS. The PS5 POS probably is what he calls it. I just think that the lack of logical and careful response and being like, okay, yeah, that thing is nice and can do certain things that I think would be appealing to certain consumers. It's like, no, it's a scam. It's a piece of trash. It's overpriced. It's like, I mean, what you're saying is ridiculous. And I know you can be like, well, opinions can't be wrong. I think opinions can be wrong when they're rooted in unfactual statements. You know, being like, if someone were to look at me and be like, well, I think you're one of the tallest people on planet Earth, it'd be like, well, no, that's not rooted in a factual statement. I'm actually not that tall. Your opinion about my height would be stupid. It would be like, wait, huh? No, I'm short man. I'm 5'6". I'm a short king, right? Melrose coming in with 62 months. That's a lot of months, Melrose. Thank you so much. Zubair says, I always say buy PC if you want to play PC games. Buy a console if you want to play console games. Once you've decided that, then you can figure out how far the budget will take you. A $750 console is beating the RTX 5090 and LOD. PS5 Pro is punching above its weight. What are we seeing here? This seems like this might be... I mean, we would want to be careful with this analysis before we want to take this to the bank. L and Alisa de Beats is saying that the PS5 Pro shows differences in level of detail, being slightly superior to the PC version at specific moments. See, again, I don't think anybody would say that you're going to get better performance on the Pro in a game like Death Stranding versus like a really high-end rig. Nobody would say that. The point is that the gap is very, very small compared to where it used to be. The gap is small. The fact that you can do side-by-side comparisons of a game like Death Stranding 2 to a good PC and be like, man, these look really, really close to each other. The PC's going to edge it out in certain ways pretty much every time, I would expect. Now, Decima Engine certainly sings on PlayStation hardware. We know this, right? That's not alarming or surprising. But I think that's the entire point of my title and thumbnail. They're closing that gap. You used to take a game like Death Stranding and you'd throw it on a nice PC compared to console, and there'd be visible, noticeable, immediate differences like draw distance, lighting, level of detail. All of that would be noticeably different. It's becoming harder and harder to see those differences. Like, put RE9 side by side on a Pro versus a nice PC. Put Death Stranding 2 on the Pro next to a nice PC, and it's harder to spot the differences. It's like, I don't know, man, these are awfully close, and the price difference is a lot bigger than the difference in performance. And the price difference is a lot different. It's like, it's a lot more expensive. Doesn't seem to be yielding that, when I'm spending, 100% more money or more than that, sometimes 200% more money, and you're getting, 10 to 30%. I don't even know. I don't know what number you would put on it, but the performance differences in the visual quality, it's like, does it represent how much money you spent? The difference is pretty significant in how much money you got to spend. Now, somebody would say, but the PC has much more freedom and a much larger, Steam library and stuff like that, and that's fair, but we're talking performance to dollars here. The average PS5 Pro and the average PC have a much smaller gap than it ever has before. Yeah, that's the other thing is the average PC. Like, you go to the average PC in circulation, somebody gaming on a laptop or like a mid-level GPU and down, and the Pro's looking really nice for $750. A $5 super chat for Easy Tone says, I love the idea of PSSR on the PlayStation 6, but do you think that Sony would try to make it a premium benefit for a higher priced PS6 Pro? Will there be a Pro? I imagine there'll be a Pro. They've talked about how they can iterate on this technology and spin it up in 3 to 5 years. DK Bager with the single gifted. Thank you so much, sir. Zubair says, my intuition is you'd need $1,800 to match a Pro today. It's gotten bad. Right. Mark Cerny's choice to do this couldn't have been timed better because the PC world and the RAM prices and building a rig, it ain't what it was a couple of years ago. It just ain't. And it's like, well, I mean, going to be a little bit harder. Wired Rope comes in with a 5-bomb over there on Twitch and takes the lead. 5 members over there to YouTube's 3. Yeah, I imagine there'd be a PS6 Pro because there's going to be new stuff they want to do. There's going to be new experimental tech that they're coming out with, and PSSR is going to be on the PlayStation 6, like, out of the box. That's a pretty significant win because, hey, everything they're doing right now on the Pro, Mark Cerny's goal seems to be that when they update PSSR, you don't have to do anything, right? You don't have to do anything. The devs didn't patch those games. I don't know if you guys heard that in the show open, but even Digital Foundry was kind of shocked about that. They were like, there's a lot more nuance here. We thought those games were patched. Cerny's like, no, they did some quality assurance, but they didn't patch the game. You just push the update. You just force the update. That's why you can just turn PSSR 2 on at the settings level. What that means is, if that's the continuation of how they do that with PSSR, then you'll be able to turn on a PlayStation 6 and just be like, oh, Resident Evil 9 looks even better like day one. I didn't have to wait for an update or a patch or anything. Omar says scalability of the game affects that also. One of those systems is pushing. I think it'll be interesting to see how the PlayStation 6 compares to a current build on an upper tier 50 series card. Can you imagine what homies are pushing right now on a top-level PC, essentially just showing up to your living room for like $700? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I really do think we're on the precipice of, like, we're gonna really, really hit that. Is it an event horizon? It's not an event horizon. That's like the point of no return. I don't even know what to call it. It's not the singularity. We're about to just enter into a really cool time where you will be able to put something like a Helix, a Steam machine, or a PlayStation 6 in your living room and get levels of performance in games that, yeah, critical mass, I guess, might be the term. That, to me, is exciting to be like, hey, can we stop worrying about, will it be 30 FPS? Like, can we please get to that era of time? We're kind of there now. We've got some lingering, nagging issues with games like Crimson Desert and then GTA 6 later this year where you're like, I don't know, it might try to hit 60 unsuccessfully, or need a bunch of patches after the fact. Generally speaking, it feels like we are kind of entering that era now where, yeah, games are just hitting 60, with less trouble, crossing the Rubicon. No more 30 FPS gaming. I remember when Gotham Knights came out, that conversation made my brain hurt. It was like, yeah, we're going backwards. We're probably going to go back to a time where all these games are 30 FPS. I'm like, what are you talking about? That was so unnerving. I was like, one game is all it took for people to be like, these consoles just aren't strong enough. It's like, I need the games to hit 60 FPS without question. Sony knows gamers prefer performance mode. Yeah, I just think that line is shifted and moved. Now more than ever, I'm convinced GTA 6 will be 60 on the Pro, says Nick. Nick, what was killing me over the weekend and even yesterday was people are trying to use Crimson Desert as proof that GTA 6 won't be 60. I'm like, do you really think the quality of what Pearl Abyss shipped is going to be at the level of, like, a game from Rockstar? Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, they're not in the same ballpark of quality and pedigree as developers. Like, just stop it. It was so frustrating to hear people use that logic. Yeah, these consoles. Yeah, it's the console's fault. And it's like, really? Are you paying attention at all to the level of quality that game shipped at? It has nothing to do with the consoles. It was a choice. That's why they had a patch ready within 24 hours. All those issues, they were aware of all those issues. They didn't crank out that patch based on feedback. They knew all those issues existed. They shipped that game like that with full knowledge it wasn't ready for public consumption. Surprise, surprise. But using that as like evidence that, like, yeah, the consoles are going backwards and, we're probably going to get a 30 FPS GTA 6. And it's like, sure. I'm okay with 30 FPS if the frame pacing is okay. I just don't feel like the game runs smoothly. It looks like it's vibrating or skipping. Exactly. Look at Rockstar and Sony's relationship. I'm going to be really interested to see, especially with the PS5 Pro, what type of marketing they try to leverage with GTA 6. Are they going to be doing bundles? Are they going to be doing commercials, trailers, blog posts, tech breakdowns? I'm kind of interested to see if we see anything like that with GTA 6, because we're getting real close to where Rockstar is going to have to basically confirm the release date. Guys, make sure as you're coming in, welcome on in. We're talking about the latest interview with Mark Cerny, future of PlayStation hardware looking like it's trying to close that gap on PC. Make sure and hit the like button if you haven't already. We appreciate you guys being here. 200 likes would be a great milestone to hit right now. Can't go back, Bob. That's right. The high-end PC guys are only a small percentage of the PC gaming community. Well, and I think the problem with the mentality is, well, you know, these rigs can do so much. And it's like, yes, but since you're the minority, a lot of developers aren't going to target your echelon all that often. They're going to target more the mid, because that's where the bulk of the consumers live. Hitting 60 FPS isn't something you pray for and roll dice. You get to design your own game. You choose how demanding it's going to run. This is exactly correct. This is exactly correct. PS5 Pro, the best place to play GTA 6. Wait for the marketing soon. I imagine they might say that, yes. Well, maybe just PlayStation 5 in general. I mean, but the Pro for sure. According to Mark Cerny, there will be no more updates to PSSR this year. So that's kind of my question is, did they get PSSR out, you know, the update in enough time for like Rockstar to really get in there and leverage things? The beauty of what they did is that any work that Rockstar was doing in GTA 6 for PSSR 1, it automatically benefits from PSSR 2. Like the games that got the quote-unquote update from that PlayStation blog, those games were not patched, y'all. That was just something that they turned on. Like, it's not something that the developers had to do. Nick says, you know, Mark Cerny is probably camping right now, Rockstar Studio, to make sure that game runs the best it possibly can be on the Pro. That game is too important to not ensure that it doesn't. I actually think you're probably right, Nick, because what a great way to demo to the third-party developing world why you want to build for Sony's technology, or why you want to leverage, you know, stuff that AMD is developing with Sony with respect to, you know, FSR, future versions of FSR. Current FSR 4 is really good. Then there's the things they're talking about with like FrameGen and others. You're gonna have the developing world kind of watching, and they're gonna be like, wow, the PS5 Pro really can really make a game sing and really make a game look good. I mean, Resident Evil 9 has already kind of done that. It has already kind of done that. He says he's not some immature clown loser like you. Why are we throwing around insults? Odd how a dude imitates him and doesn't even have the fortitude to name drop. I'm not talking about anybody, and I'm not going to name drop anybody. I don't make content about other people. If other people want to do that, that's fine. I'm not in here to do that. I'm not. Here's what's interesting. I'm not sneak dissing anybody, and I'm not mentioning other YouTubers, but there were plenty of people who talked about the Pro in a way that was misrepresentative of the product. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there were people that called it a scam. There were people that called it overpriced. Now, I referenced Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers because I thought his advice was poor. I thought his advice was not good for people to listen to. I think that's fair. I wasn't like calling him out and having drama. That was advice that was given to people, and I thought it was bad advice. It was like, you're telling people to spend twice as much money for a PC from Best Buy that's not even as strong as the device that you were comparing it to. It was just bad advice. I also have mentioned, you know, guys like Austin Evans and Linus Tech Tips. They at least did the due diligence to compare PC to the Pro. And it was clear, for the price difference and for how much you've got to spend and how many corners you've got to try to cut like Linus did. He admitted this in the video. It just seemed like, wow, what a bunch of ludicrous claims about the device. I'm not referencing any other creators other than those gentlemen. And maybe that's because I don't watch their content. I don't know what they're saying. I don't even know what people are saying about me or the Pro anymore. I'm referencing stuff that happened like over a year ago. It was a common dialogue point. There were commonly people coming into my chat and saying it, and there was stuff all over Twitter. So yes, I'm having in my mind tons of things that were stated back then that were like really ridiculous. Consoles are a scam in general. Enjoy 30 FPS on GTA 6. I think you need to look up the definition of scam. I think you're using a word that you don't even seemingly know what it means. And let's just imagine that GTA 6 is 30 FPS on console. Let's just imagine. Okay, what point are you making outside of one game then? Like Resident Evil 9 looks fantastic on console. Looks really good on the Pro. Looks close to, like, I would say almost indistinguishable from most PCs. The average PC user does not have a PC that's hitting above the Pro's weight class with respect to visual fidelity and performance. So you're going to use one game that might run at 30 on console as evidence that like that consoles are a scam. Like, I don't feel like that's a very logical position. We're 6 years into the console's gen, and you're using a game that hasn't come out yet to establish your point. What about all the great games that have already come out that have run very, very well and solid and have even been praised at a technical level running on a base PS5? And then all of the PS5 Pro games that came out and were technically broken down to be seen to be like, wow, these games run really well and look really, really good. Like, nobody with technical prowess or background that's respected in the industry agrees with what you're saying. Like, you're getting your takes from people that aren't taken seriously. Like, nobody goes and, oh yeah, this person's a real authority on this. When you say things like you're saying, like, you're getting your information from people that are more about entertaining than informing, which is fine. Like, if that's the kind of content that you want to consume, go right ahead. But like, nobody that actually does technical breakdowns like agrees with you. Like, this person knows you watch his content. He's caught you in 4K. I don't watch. I promise you I don't. If he's assuming that, maybe it's because it's really easy to predict what people like that are going to say. You know what I'm saying? It's very easy to predict. Like, I promise you, I'm too busy hanging out with my kiddos and worrying about my own business. I've got other business ventures and things that I'm doing. I've got friends I meet with. Homie, I promise you. Like, I don't know how you catch somebody in 4K. What is he claiming he has cameras in my house or something? If I reference what I think other people are going to say about me or what I'm assuming other people say about me, maybe consider the fact that people come to my comment section and say it so then I know people are saying things about me. It's that simple. I mean, people brigade my channel anytime somebody makes a video about me. It doesn't even have to be the person that you're referencing. I have so many people that'll make vids about me, and then my comment section is full of people that start to brigade and call me all sorts of names, and I'm like, oh, well, somebody must have made a video about me and said this. It's very easy. It's simple math. Like, as a content creator, you would think that somebody would know that's how that works. You mean a base PS5 game running games at medium presets and using bare minimum ray tracing? Yes. Why is that? Does that make the PlayStation a scam because it runs things at medium settings? So according to your logic, if you have to run things at medium settings with minimum ray tracing, you just argued that the vast majority of people in the Steam user base are playing on scams. Do you see how just absolutely god-awful your logic is? You've been propagandized by somebody that you think knows a lot, and now you're speaking in ways that are within seconds of time just destroyed with basic logic. Like, so you're saying that a console is a scam because it runs games at medium settings with like not all the ray tracing. Yeah, you mean like the most of the user base of Steam is currently on a PC that is that strong or weaker, that has to run games at lower settings with less ray tracing? You just argued that the vast majority of people who game on PC are gaming on scams. Your logic is so poor because it's not logic, it's emotional, it's tribalistic. You attach it to your identity and you've got to act like it's this amazing thing and everything else is terrible. Like, I don't attach it to my identity, which is why I can tell people, yeah, PC's a great option. PCs are a perfectly fine place to game. If you can spend the money, you can really build a nice rig. There's tons of games that you can't get on console. There's tons of early access games that are well worth playing. You get lots of freedom on that platform. Do you see? Like, when you're not insecure and have to get your value or your identity from some weird piece of plastic, you don't have to say ridiculous things. I can be like, yeah, go ahead, buy a PC. I think PCs are great. I have one. I want a PC for my living room. But being like, oh, it's a scam because you're running games at medium settings with not all the ray tracing turned on. Yeah, most of the people on Steam are doing the same thing. Do you think every pre-built PC that people buy that runs games at those thresholds, do you think they bought a scam? Steam users aren't the majority of PC users. So, the enormous Steam user base, you don't think represents the PC user base as like a barometer of what most people have in their homes? Do you honestly think Steam's not the majority? You think that? Nova Hands with 42 months. Thank you so much for renewing over there on Purple. 43 months from QBZ. Guess I've been playing scams on PC for 10 years now. Yeah, you didn't know. You're playing on a scam because it's not the best rig that can turn all of the settings. I'm effing dead, chat, says Zubair. Like, did this homie just say that Steam's not the majority? You see what happens? I don't know, man. It kind of feels like when you watch content that is not rooted in good faith and logic and being intellectual and factual, you demonstrate that very clearly with all of your commentary this morning. You're just echoing the same foolishness and the same ignorance. $10 super chat from Mr. Grimm. Probably more to this, but according to ChatGPT, only a small minority of Steam PCs are as powerful or more powerful than the PS5 Pro. Thank you, Mr. Grimm, for the $10 super chat. 37 months from Wired Rope. He says these fake PC Master Race guys really like making themselves look bad. Now that all of chat's laughing at you, I don't know. Maybe you consider getting your information from other sources. Homie said GOG and Epic. The majority is most definitely not Epic Game Store and GOG. Yeah, I mean, homie mentioned GOG and Epic. Like, what the heck? Ain't Got No Games of 55 months and a VIP getting us to 118. Console's also a scam because you're paying for online backup saves and old games. Yeah, okay. I mean, you've demonstrated such a big brain up to this moment. You're definitely still on that highly intelligent wavelength. I mean, I don't know, man. You're like the guy in the street fight whose pants fell down and you're still swinging. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, man? A poll was done late last year. The 3060 is the most common GPU. A lot of PC users are gaming at 1080 and 1440 at medium high just to push high frame rates. Of course, ray tracing is off as well. Yeah, well, according to this person who is so intelligent, they're playing on a scam, because when you play games at that threshold, you're playing on a scam. Dizzying. Just dizzying intelligence and logic this morning. You know? Microsoft's new marketing. Everything is a scam. That's good. That's good. Just call everything that you don't like a scam, chat, you know? It's like a little kid who learns one word, you know? Have you ever seen that? Where like a little kid learns a naughty word and he calls everything stupid? That's what these guys sound like. They literally sound like, well, I heard a word and I know that this word is a strong word. So I'm just going to keep saying scam over and over again. You sound like the guys who call everything woke, or like the people earlier this year that called everything hate. You know what I mean? The foolishness is how this person clips you and shows you how badly you treat your audience. Yeah, I don't really care what people think of me who are not even within my friend circle. I don't care. I don't feel like I mistreat my audience. if there are people that think that based off of clips and that type of content, I'm not going to attempt to defend myself against someone like that. I really don't. Like, I run my business and my stream in a way that I feel proud of, and I feel like I've got people in my life who can check me and my integrity and my honesty. And if there are people who see that differently and they're not in my circle and they're people that I don't really respect, like, I just don't really care. That's just not a concern of mine. You know? You mistreat us a little, but we don't kink shame here. Right. Sorry that, you feel that way. I feel like I treat my audience as well or better than many others. Like, the average streamer, will say things to their audience and be brash or gruff or hurl insults. Like, I don't think I give any more than the average person that might get flustered or irritated sometimes with their audience in an argument or something, One thing I will notice about people that want to come in and say what this gentleman's been saying this morning is you hold me to a standard that you don't hold those other people to, because they're like 1,000 times worse in these departments that you're judging me against. Like, talking about accuracy and honesty as you call the pro a scam. Okay. What about accuracy and honesty? Like, clipping people and making fun of them to, make them look bad, and we want to talk about accuracy and honesty? Like, okay. I guess there's other ways to tell everybody in chat you're a hypocrite. 5 years and Lono's reading my comments 9 times. I feel like I've been treated badly. 5070 is now the most popular GPU according to the most recent hardware survey on Steam, just to clarify. In what percentage, though? You're saying the most popular GPU, Omar. As in, there are more of them than each individual? What happens if you add up all of the other GPUs? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when you say it's the most popular, does that mean it's at a 22% and everything else is lower than 22%? I refuse to believe the 5070 is the most popular. Armed and Dangerous with a Member Plus says, paying for online is not a scam, especially now I'm a physical player. I have access to all sorts of games digitally, and I plan my portal. Thank you so much for renewing your membership. He has nothing to back up his argument, so now he's getting personal. Like I said, his pants fell down and he was still swinging. He clearly lost the fight, made a fool of himself. Everyone was laughing at him, and so he was just being, trying to be personal, I guess, to get an emotional rise. The top 3 GPUs by market share, the 5070 is 9.4%. Right. So what you'd have to do is take that 9.4% and pit it against everything else, which means 91% aren't. So that's a stat that can be very, very, misrepresentative. Like, I know what you're saying, Omar, but there are people that will run around and say that. Well, the 5070s is the most popular, and then they'll claim it's the majority. There's a difference between most popular GPU and majority. I know you know the difference, Omar. I'm not educating you, but people will hear that and think that that's what that means. They'll think, oh, the 5070 is the most popular. Yeah, 9.4%. It's more people have purchased them than 4060s or 5060s. So what ends up happening is you hear that and people will then think that, oh yeah, the majority are now on 5070s. No, not the majority. It's a market share versus other GPU equation, which means 90% of the people on the Steam hardware database report that they run, 90% aren't on a 5070. That's why when I say the majority are on mid-level GPUs and down, I'm taking the whole snapshot and saying if you look right at the middle of the pack on GPU and down, weaker, they make up the majority. Which means when someone says, oh, your consoles are scammed, they're only running games at medium settings without all the ray tracing turned on. I'm like, yeah, that's what most people are doing on PC too. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why I think getting weird like that and getting like tribalistic, I just think it's bizarre. It's just weird behavior. It's like, just say that you prefer to play over here. You think you get more value over here. I think that's completely legitimate. Calling what other people doing is a scam. It's just weird. It's just very like immature, like boyish behavior. It's like, yeah, that's a scam. Huh. And it's like, well, wait, I don't understand. So that means all these people on PCs are playing on scams too. And then instead of engaging in that logic, they just start to hurl insults, because that's what you do when you're losing the argument. The majority of people buying the new GPU are buying the 5070. How many PC users are purchasing new GPUs? Right, that's another way to look at it, John, always, is that like the average person is like happy with their rig as long as it's working. Like, if you think about, you know, PC users, like my nephews are on a PC. My brother got it for them. It was a pre-built from Amazon, you know, years ago. And, well, actually, no, I think they're on a newer one. They only got the newer one when they got to a point where they just couldn't play certain games. So it was an older rig, and they had a perfectly fine time with it, you know, playing little games like Terraria and stuff on Steam, and they had a perfectly fine time with it. And once they got to the point where they couldn't play games, like the oldest nephew was playing like Rainbow Six Siege with his friends, and it was like there was just no way. They needed a new rig. So the average person is going to be happy with their rig up until the point that it really can't run something that they want to play. Especially when you look at the vast majority of the games that sell and the Steam sales and stuff. Like, you don't need a super performant rig to play Vampire Survivors or Deep Rock Galactic Survivor or, you know, Slay the Spire 2. You don't need a really strong rig to play those games. You don't. Steam can be played on a Mac too. Just like with cars, the average human has an average car. Yeah, it's kind of a similar threshold, I would bet, that like the average automobile owner is at like a more mid-level economy level car and down into like, you know, lemons and used cars that are barely running as compared to like luxury cars. I was shook when my friend said he's playing Marathon on an old rig. He said he could tell people were nearby when his frames dropped to 30. Like, at that point, just play on the Series X or the PS5. Well, you get a little captured, Bajanga, which I think is legitimate. If you've got, like, a really, really big Steam library, you get a little bit captured, brother. You're like, yeah, I don't want to go buy a console. You know, they're either waiting to upgrade to like a stronger rig, or just, you know, maybe not upgrade, just buying a new rig. But they're a little captured because their library is there. Is Steam a rental service, or do you own the games? Listen, the digital ownership conversation is not worth having for the most part. I think there are probably good parts of the conversation to have. Like, I think the fact that virtually every platform that we interact with sells us a license to play the game that you can give back on Steam. You can be like, yeah, I don't want this game anymore. Here, take it back, and you get your money back. I think all platforms should function like that. I think that's the biggest advantage that Steam has, because the consumer is far more empowered to spend their money well, so that you're not left holding a bad game. You know, I don't know the exact legalese of how Steam handles it, but it's very clear that I have a license to play games that can be taken away at any point on pretty much every platform I interact with, whether it's Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation. I'm fairly confident that's how Steam works, I think. which means Steam handles it the right way. They're like, yeah, if you don't want the game within a certain parameter of time, you can give the game back. And there's no digital like wear and tear. It's not a product that you're literally giving back that could have wear and tear on it, so that they're like, well, is it in good condition? Did you remember the instruction manual? You remember those days. My PC is hooked up to my TV in the living room. I play in my recliner. Yeah, I would like to be able to do that with Slay the Spire. Steam, you don't have to pay for voice chat, cloud saves, or online play. I wish consoles would do the same. Consoles aren't going to do the same. They make good money, and then, listen, they invest in the infrastructure. So the fact that whenever I go to do something on my PlayStation, and then I go use my portal, or I use voice chat or party chat, or use basically their infrastructure for netcode and matchmaking and stuff, or inviting somebody to play a game, I like that I'm using something that I'm paying for, if that makes sense. It means that it's going to need to be at a certain threshold of quality. You're not going to, most people on PC are going to use Discord for voice chat. You're not going to use game chat, right? Why? Because it's usually not very good. So you're going to use something superior. And so, in my mind, as long as you're giving me something that I feel like has to be a quality, I'm okay to pay for it, especially considering, and this is where I think a lot of people miss the mark here, you're not just paying for online voice chat, cloud saves, and all of that. Those are part of a larger package. I have all these games where I can play trials. I've used that quite a bit recently, and I avoided a couple of games that I ended up not liking. I played a trial through PlayStation Plus, avoided those games. Then there's games I can just install for free because I'm already paying for the subservice. So they're there. I don't have to purchase the games. And I'm like, oh, that game came out a while ago and my kiddos are interested. They can try it out, right? All of those things I think are part of the package. Now, the criticism of Game Pass was always doing day and date with your biggest titles. Doing day and date at release hurts your sales, right? And you're conditioning people to think that there's never a reason to buy a game. PlayStation Plus doesn't do that. They bring the games, later. They even, I think, highlighted the one time they did it with Horizon, and it noticeably damaged sales when they finally brought it to the service because it was like a game that continued to sell. Their games sell really, really well in their twilight hours. Like Spider-Man was continuing to sell well, so was Miles, so was Spider-Man 2, Horizon. These games continue to sell well, like even well after their release. So a lot of the times I think it gets simplified. It's like, oh, you have to pay for online. Okay, the average online live service game is free to play, which means you don't need PlayStation Plus to play those games. So if you're playing like Warzone or Fortnite or any other free-to-play live service game, you do not need PlayStation Plus. You don't. It's for games, obviously, where it's a paid-for game. So, like, if I wanted to play Borderlands with my wife, if I want to play any other games that are, like, a paid-for game, I need to have it. Arc Raiders would be an example. Helldivers would be an example of games where you have to pay for it. It's not free to play. Then that's required. But since I'm getting all of those other benefits, like, it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're making me do this. If they were nickel and diming me and they were like, yeah, well, we have PS Plus for the games, but then we're going to charge you $5 a month for voice chat and $10 a month for, co-op play and another $5 a month for PvP games. Well, yeah, then it would start to get into an absurd level. But when you give me this package deal, I'm like, yeah, I think that's fine. I'm using that. There are plenty of people who buy a PlayStation, and because they only ever play single-player games, they never buy PS Plus. They don't feel the need to use it. They don't feel the need to leverage it. They're like, yeah, I don't need that. I buy a couple of single-player games every single year, and I don't have to worry about it. B&E Video says less hackers and cheaters on console is great, but the kind of games most people cheat on, I'd rather play for PC, mouse and keyboard. Well, for sure. Arguing that you're getting services and infrastructure for your monthly fee ain't it. PC effectively provides all that for free via Discord, Steam, etc. Okay, so because there are free companies out there that offer things, Like, you're going to use Discord as an example. Discord is now like riddled with microtransactions and little pop-ups and things about wanting money from me. Gee, I wonder why that is. I wonder why Discord is suddenly trying to make money. Maybe it's really expensive to offer all that infrastructure and all those servers, right? Steam does not, I think, offer the level of things that you get in like a PSN. You get like a friends list and you can like send invites and stuff. But if you want good voice chat, you're never going to use game chat. You're always going to use something like Discord. If Discord didn't exist, you'd have to use game chat or some other, secondary piece of software. Like back in the day, I used Roger Wilco. People used TeamSpeak and other things like that. So you're like, oh, this is great over here. We have all these free options. Yeah, because somebody else made it. Like, I'm going to PlayStation, and they're saying, here's everything you need. It's us. We built it. We did it. There it is. There's the price. Take it or leave it. You go to PC, and you're like, well, I have to kind of figure all this out on my own because Steam is a storefront with a friends list. Like, it's weird that people get on this wavelength of like, you're just establishing what you're not willing to pay for. Other people are willing to pay for it. I also pay somebody to cut my grass. And there are older men in particular that are like, that really bothers them. That like, I don't cut my own grass. Right? You might look at that and think that's ridiculous. Why would you pay somebody to cut your own grass? Because I can, and because that's hours of my life every week I can spend with my kiddos instead of, locked into a podcast, walking around my yard when the weather is nice and it's required. If someone can do it for free and someone will charge you for the same, how does it make sense that the latter is giving you value? Your question presumes that there are free options on console. Your question's not logical. You're like, oh, well, how does it give you value? Because I go to them and it solves a problem for me. If you perceive it as not having value, then you don't pay for it. This is such a weird conversation. You've established that it has no value for you. Cool, don't buy it, move on. Why do you have to like proselytize and evangelize and like make sure people know that they're not getting value? Who frickin' cares what you think is valuable? I think I get value out of the guy I pay to cut my grass. I've got older relatives that would be like, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't do that. It's my yard, it's my money. Like, what? Like, you've established it has no value for you. Good for you. That's your own subjective experience. Move along. No one cares what your value system is within gaming. We're all operating within our own and spending our money in the way that we see best. Like, not having free options when there's available elsewhere is why people call this stuff a scam. People call it a scam because they take an identity from it and they're insecure. They don't call it a scam because it's a genuine assessment of what's being offered as a product. It's a product that's been built that works and offers something to the consumer. If they spend money on it, they get those things. That makes it not a scam. You guys misuse the term because you're like tribalists that have to evangelize for your viewpoint of the market. It's annoying. You're the guy at the party that people wish didn't show up, bro. I mean that. Like, whenever we have conversations like this, you guys, you people show up and do this. We don't care. Go ahead, King. Play on Steam. Go off. Don't pay for PS Plus. Good for you. I mean this. I say it so much. We don't care what you're doing with your money. Why do you care what we're doing with ours? Brother, I don't freaking care if your entire bedroom's decorated with Sailor Moon posters. Man, have a ball. Why do you care that someone's paying for PS Plus? Because they're like, I feel like I get value out of it. I get games on a monthly basis. I get game trials if I'm at the upper echelon. I can play games right there on my portal through the cloud, right out of my library. I'm sitting in my bedroom last night playing Grind Survivors. That's a value to me in my life, and I pay for it willingly. No one's twisting my arm. I'm not being scammed. You guys get this weird bent on like everybody answers to your view of the world. And if people don't operate within your viewpoint, you get like judgmental and say they're being scammed or call them, all sorts of names like corporate shills and things like that. And it's like, huh? Because we pay for something that we feel we get value from? So do you. Like, Grind Survivors is taking over my life. I think I found a bug. It was the second level, difficulty 4. It crashed twice when I beat the boss, and I didn't get credit. I didn't get any of my loot. It worked fine, cloud. I don't know if but I didn't do a certain capstone. There's an ability, I forget what it's called, where it makes the flame tornadoes. The 2 times I beat the boss, I had that ability going, and I wonder if it just creates too many of them or something and it crashes it. But I also wonder if playing it on the cloud somehow protected me from the crash. Like, that wouldn't make any sense to me because you're still running on a server blade somewhere and it's the same software and hardware, isn't it? Maybe not. I don't know. I ran it in my bedroom and beat him just fine. I avoided that ability, though. I thought maybe that ability was causing it problems. It's such a good little survivor game. So fun. A lot of people learn how to argue on the internet where there's no nuance and everything is hyperbolic. This is the result. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know. See my last comment, the issue with the statement that they are comparing net play as I compare net play in a vacuum. Hang on, what's AOZ saying? The argument is so naive, says AOZ. Come back when cheating is managed on PC. Paying for the PS network has armies of developers and engineers working to keep the console cheat free. We didn't even get into that. You're like, oh, but I don't have to pay for it on Steam. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell. Your user base ravages any game that doesn't have adequate cheat protection. And then you guys all get twisted up over like kernel level anti-cheat. You clutch your pearls at kernel level anti-cheat, but then you'll watch games like, that Frontier game get absolutely devoured by cheaters. Your platform's so amazing. Like, oh, it's free? Yeah, I can tell it's frickin' free. I can tell. I think that's my comeback going forward. Oh, I don't have to pay for online on PC. Yeah, I can tell. Cheating is an enormous economy, and there's companies that make millions of dollars selling cheats on PC, and that literally has destroyed games. Just pack it up, go home, shut down. Can't get in front of the cheaters. Well, it's free over here. We can tell. Yeah. It would be like going to, 2 different clubs downtown. And they're like, well, we don't have bouncers and we don't charge an entrance fee. I can tell when I come in. Yeah, I can tell. It's obvious. The place is a mess. I don't want to be here. Like, yeah, congratulations is free, and virtually every PvP game is overridden with cheaters, unless it's a really, really big company that can either sue the cheat providers or have dedicated staff to anti-cheat. Dedicated staff members to anti-cheat, just constantly having to deal with it and babysit it. Yeah, I mean, enjoy your free online, I guess. Now, in games like Borderlands or Pow World, you'd have a valid point to be like, well, you have to pay to play those games online with Madam. Do you know what I would say? I don't care. It's part of my monthly outgo for things that add value to my life. Like Amazon Prime, I'm willingly paying for it because it adds value to what I'm doing. Playing online for free in the presence of cheaters is in no way related, how do you figure? Like, if you're paying for an online network service like you are for PSN, they're going to be running due diligence on those accounts, and they're going to be running due diligence on the entire infrastructure so that way they can do any kind of enforcement that's needed. Now, Steam will only enforce a ban if it like comes from the developer, like you can get dev banned or whatever, right? They have no infrastructure whatsoever to secure and to make sure that you're not having things happen to you that you don't want to have happen, people doing things. It's just there. It's just free. Congratulations, it's free. Paying for online is not an anti-cheat. No, it's an entire infrastructure that PlayStation has built that maintains the integrity of the environment. What do you mean? There's a terms of service that you agree to and you pay for. So if you're going to be playing online, you're going through that. Like, what are you talking about? Now, yes, the companies implement their own anti-cheat, but you don't see the correlation between a walled garden on a console, a closed system that's commonly ridiculed by PC guys, and yet there's virtually no cheating over there. It's not an open platform, and you have to pay for online. Yeah, and the amount of cheaters pales in comparison. It doesn't, though. Plenty of cheaters on PlayStation. I'm not even going to engage with that. It's bad faith, and you know it. You know that the vast majority of cheating is on PC. It's not even comparable. It's like 1,000 to 1. It's such a bad faith argument to be like, oh, but there's cheating on PlayStation. The number of cheaters on a console compared to PC, homie, it's a mountain compared to a bike ramp. It's not even the same. The scope and size, it's not comparable. Invoking that is ludicrous, and you know that it's ludicrous. A closed monopoly store, look up the definition of monopoly and try again. There's plenty of cheaters. There's plenty of cheaters. Is way less than PC. Yeah, it's not even close. It's not. It isn't. By that logic, if PC started charging for online somehow, would the instances of cheaters reduce? At some level, it would. Yes. Yes. Guess what happens every time someone gets banned on console from a game like Arc Raiders? New account. They got to pay for PSN again. They got to buy Arc Raiders. It's one extra layer of that person being like, do I really want to do this again? On Steam, new account, get the game. Back in. Cheating. Like there's just one more barrier of like, yeah, well, I just can make accounts over here. It's a free and open platform. Like, why do you think that's where all the cheating and piracy happens? Because of the things that you claim are amazing. They are amazing, but they come with their own other elements of downfall. Like, or not downfall, other elements of negativity. Like, you have an open, free platform and you don't pay for online, and that's where cheating and piracy lives. You don't think there's a correlative relationship between those things and a closed console with paid for networking where you pay to play online unless it's the free to play games, and you pay to play those games. Why do you think free to play games have way more cheating? Have you ever thought about that? Which tracks with everything that I'm saying? That a free to play game ends up with more cheaters. Why? That's one less barrier of entry for the cheaters to get back in. They don't need PSN. They make a new account. They're back in cheating in the free to play game. That's why the free to play games have way more cheaters, because you're removing a barrier of entry. It's the same logic I'm applying to PC. It's like, yes, it's open. You don't pay for online. And we can tell by the behavior of the user base. It seems far less controlled. It seems like more like the Wild Wild West. People are cheating and pirating, and that's pretty much par for the course for that platform, because that's the good with the bad that you take. You take the good with the bad. You go and play on PC. You don't pay for internet. It's barely policed unless you are going to do kernel level anti-cheat, which people really don't like on PC. If you're not willing to do that, then you're going to be dealing with an awful lot of cheating. There are games that literally died on Steam because they couldn't get in front of the cheating. Now, if that was happening on PlayStation, You have a PSN network, you have PlayStation engineers, you have staff that can lean in and can help. I don't think Steam's going to do that. They didn't do that for any of those games that were struggling with cheaters. It's not Steam's prerogative. Where do people think the money comes from to pay developers to continuously harden the PlayStation from jailbreaking? Says AOZ. AOZ's adding more context to the discussion. There is an infrastructure that's being protected and paid for by the users. And you guys call it a monopoly and a scam. And it protects the platform and the games from having cheats made for them. Don't you see what would happen if PlayStation was just like, yeah, open season, we don't care if you jailbreak our PlayStation, we're not going to charge for online, we're just going to open the platform up. What do you think would happen? Cheating would increase almost immediately. Overnight, you'd have more people cheating. You take the good with the bad. You come to console, it's walled off garden, it's not open, you can't install your own software on it, you got to pay for online. But you don't have to deal with all that nonsense that comes with PC land. PC land, you can install your own software, you can run extra stuff, as long as you're not cheating, right? I mean, cheaters are running extra stuff, which is part of the problem. You know, you're coming over here, you don't pay for online, and guess what? You take the good with the bad. You're going to run into way more people cheating. Haven't tuned in since Sano to Rage Days. Hope all's been well, man. I appreciate that, Just Knocked. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it, man. You've been following me since 2019. That's a long time ago. It's a closed environment. It's 100% control. Omar says, there is cheating on all platforms, by far and large on PC, though, yes. But that is not a result of the price of online. It is exactly due to the open platform. That's what we've been talking about, Omar. The fact that it's an open platform is one of the reasons why Steam won't charge for online. It wouldn't have been received by the consumers on the platform. They would have been like, we're not paying for online. This is an open platform. Why would we pay for you for online? It wouldn't have worked. We could play triple and console users play for online and we'd still have more cheating. No. Nope. If you put up a subscription fee in front of online gaming on Steam, it would almost immediately curb down cheating. It would be one more thing for people to be like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to pay for that. I don't want to give them my information and my credit card. Are you kidding me? It would immediately curb down the cheating if you had to pay for online. This is exactly why, to prove my point, free-to-play games always have more cheaters. Why? Because there's one less barrier of re-entry on everybody that gets caught and banned. I'm not saying Steam should charge for online. I'm saying it's all part of the same animal. The big, huge ball of wax monster that is PC gaming. Open platform, don't pay for online. Gee, I wonder why that's where cheating lives. You come over to console, closed platform, pay for online, significantly less cheating. Gee, I wonder why that is. These are correlative realities. Like, it's clear that over here, that's one of the things you're going to have to put up with. People get really mad about DRM and Denuvo, but it's also the platform where most of the piracy lives, which is exactly why companies try to put that garbage in the game, which hinders performance. I'm saying if PlayStation decided to make their platform open, their games would be getting cracked 10 times more. I understand what Omar is saying. He's saying the cheating is because it's an open platform. I get that level of nuance. I think they're a both and. They go hand in hand. The fact that the PC platform is considered an open platform is exactly why Steam would never get away with charging for online. They'd never get away with it. The consumer base would revolt and say, it's not part of the DNA of the platform. The culture around PC, it's an open platform. You'd never get away with it. It's why the PC boys get so incensed and have to like evangelize and make sure and tell everybody on console they're getting quote unquote scammed. AOZ says, please don't take a consideration what it costs to close a platform. Yeah, I mean, how many system level and PSN level updates are there going out to prevent people from cheating, hacking, jailbreaking, anything else they'd like to do to the platform itself? Lono, I'm struggling surviving through Biome 3. I get there, but unless you find the extra life room and have Ether to pay for it, I struggle to survive and I lose 3 hours of work. Any help? I'd have to be able to see your gameplay to see what you're doing and what you're dying to, maybe take a screenshot and put it in the Discord. I want to see how big your health bar is. If you're struggling to survive because you don't get your second chance, that means you're dying. You're dying to something. You're either dying because your DPS uptime's not good enough, like your weapon's not good enough, which means you might just not maybe you just don't have a great weapon. You got to find a good weapon in Biome 3. You can't just keep using the same one. He's talking about Returnal. The other thing could be is that you just don't have enough health, PC can't close its platform. There's no monetary funnel or company to do it or have authority to lock it down. Factually untrue. Cheating happens on console as well. Someone just jailbroke an Xbone. No one said that cheating doesn't happen. I mean, maybe somebody in chat said cheating doesn't happen on console. It's not even remotely the same in scale. It isn't. Happening in my games on console either, but it's a smaller degree of cheaters. I don't think either is a scam, but I do think if people had to spend, there would still be far more cheaters because there are so many easier ways around protections. Omar, yeah, I'm not saying that the cheating would go away. You would still have more cheaters on PC because it's an open platform, but it would be immediately diminished because people would be like, I don't want to pay. They would people take the path of least resistance. That's exactly what cheaters are going to do. Cheaters are going to go where they get the path of least resistance. PC offers almost no friction. It's an open platform and you don't have to pay for online. Those two things come hand in hand. It's an order of magnitude smaller. Right. And yes, if you suddenly had to pay for online on Steam, the number of cheaters on Steam in games, in particular games, especially paid for games, it would go down. I think that's fair to say because that's exactly how people respond to layers of friction. As soon as there's a layer of friction, the cheaters are going to find somewhere else to go. That's why games that don't have good anti-cheat get absolutely devoured because there's no friction. It's like really, really easy to cheat. So that's what they're going to go. You have to understand that cheaters are a weird breed. They will willingly pay a company money to cheat, but seethe and mauled about PSN charging for online and call it a scam. I want you to think about the complete and utter lack of self-awareness. Willingly paying so you can cheat in a video game while calling what PlayStation does a scam. I guarantee you we've had conversations with people who are big-time PC Master Race boys and are all about ridiculing PlayStation for being a scam. I would bet dollars to donuts we've talked to people like that and they're cheating regularly in video games. And they're willingly paying for those cheats. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. PC Gamers absolutely destroyed today. No, they didn't. What are you talking about? It's a perfectly good conversation comparing the platforms. PlayStation's wanting to close the gap on performance. We're talking about the benefits of why you might choose PC over console. That's literally part of the topic. Nothing's been destroyed. Let's see here. I mean, you've been discussing it as well, Raiden. You said console cheating's non-existent. That's evident from Battlefield 6 devs urging console players to turn off crossplay. You're literally engaging in the discussion. Nothing's been destroyed. It's a perfectly good discussion to have. Guys, by the way, if you haven't hit the like button yet, do me a favor and hit that like button. Try and get us to 300 likes. Dope song, dude. Hope she finally got a phone. No, she doesn't have a phone yet. She's 12. It's a balancing act. Issues with PC is if Steam started charging, people would jump to other platforms, even if the other platforms are worse, free market. Yeah, they would go wherever they could cheat. That's generally what they would do. Now, the worst interpretation of what I'm saying is that, well, we pay for PSN, so we're protected from cheaters. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you pay into a network and a company has vested interest in making sure you have a good time, they're going to protect the platform from being jailbroken, hacked, reverse engineered, so that then cheats can't be developed for those games. It's not like paying for PSN is giving you anti-cheat. No, it's paying into something that the company has a vested interest in making sure I'm having a good time. Steam doesn't give a frick if you're facing cheaters. They don't frickin' care. You're interacting with their storefront and you're giving them money. They don't care if you're interacting with cheaters. That's not their business. They're not invested in that in the least. Lona was saying if you lock your car doors, you reduce the chances of people stealing crap out of your car. Pretty much. Yo, it's good, Ginger. This guy says, LOL, weirdos, your time is up, port beggars, it's over. What are you talking about, Houston Munns? Why are you coming in and saying that? Who do you feel like is here port begging? What are you talking about? Apex is cracking down on cheating hard. Right now, Respawn's destroying them. I don't know how this concept is so hard to understand. Y'all really need to stop using ChatGPT. They aren't responsible for the cheating. It's the game developers who need to manage it. Correct. Because your title is, believe why he said that? Oh, PlayStation's closing the gap on PC? I wouldn't be surprised if the interview that Mark Cerny did with Digital Foundry and talking about PSSR and like the future and how the gap is kind of closing between the platforms, I would not be surprised at all if that is at some level related to the fact of like why they're no longer wanting to do, ports of their tentpole titles. Like if you're spending all this time making let's say Wolverine. You're spending all this time making Wolverine look really, really good, and you're leveraging PSSR, and, you're even thinking about PlayStation 6 games, like Intergalactic will probably be one of the games that has to consider that, and maybe even puts in some of the dev kit implementation of the PlayStation 6, because it'll be in circulation by the time they're kind of putting, like, finishing touches on the game, I would think. If you're spending all the time doing that, guys, the like button didn't move. Make sure the like count's working. It went up by 2 or something. Make sure YouTube's not freaking out. Everybody right now, double check the like count. Let's go for 300 likes. That is genuinely helpful to the stream. There's no way there's that many hate watchers here that the like button's not going up, y'all. Make sure you lurkers are unlurking for a split second. Hit the like. It helps. It's good, Operator 7. So if you're spending all that time making a game look incredible to the point that you're closing the gap on like fidelity between PC and the console, well, the last thing you want to do is have that game going over to PC on a Helix or a Steam machine and basically being like, yeah, here's a perfectly good place to play the game. It looks just as good as over there. Does that make sense? It's like you got a branded Project Helix potentially in the mix, an Xbox branded device. Did I just get called out for lurking? You did. You are allowed to lurk. You just have to hit the like button first. That's the toll you have to pay. Winged Wheel with the Member Plus. 15 months. Let's get it to 120. We're 5 away from the next milestone. I owe 3 members to YouTube from yesterday, and I owe 1 to Twitch. This guy says there are too many crybabies in the world, too much real stuff going on, and you're crying about wanting to pay for online to prevent cheaters that still cheat on consoles. Wow. It's interesting that your interpretation of the conversation is that I'm crying. As I said, I willingly pay for it. I willingly pay for it, and I feel like one of the values I get is a closed ecosystem where I don't have to worry about everything getting jailbroken, cracked, hacked, and cheated in. No one's crying. I'm establishing that, like, I'm willing to pay for it. A lot of people are yelling at clouds today. Thank you, Liquid Smoke, for 58 months. You kind of have a weird way of projecting, like, you seem to be crying in my chat, and you're projecting onto me and everybody else that we're crying. We're not. We're establishing that we're okay to pay for it. I can't stress enough that we don't care how you spend your money. Like, myself personally in this community here, we just don't care. I don't pay for PSN. Cool, man. Like, great. I don't subscribe to a car wash service. Like, are we just going to randomly brag about things we don't spend money on? Like, okay. A VIP from Mick Pratt. 34 months. People call the portal a scam, and it's better now than the day I bought it. You know what's interesting, Mick Pratt? Let's just do some analysis of the conversation today, shall we? It's clear that they can't argue that the Pro is a scam anymore. So where do they have to run? Like the guy that was doing it earlier, and now he's got, some other people on his side kind of taking up the same argumentation method. Oh, the PSN. PSN's a scam. Because they said the Pro is a scam, and there's zero tech analysis out there that backs up that statement. It looks... You talk about the compounding interest of stupidity. It was stupid back when they claimed it, and it's just gotten compounding interest of stupidity as time has gone on. Like, it looks dumber every day. That's brilliant. To be able to look dumber every day, I mean, that's an achievement. To say something stupid and, like, every 6 months or so, it's like, it looks dumber. It looks dumber. Wow. The PlayStation Portal's DOA, it's stupid. It exceeds sales expectations. It's like one of the highest selling. It's one of the better selling accessories out there. They continue to add things to it like cloud, which we were told they wouldn't be able to do. They've now increased the latency and even the resolution, making it look better. Gets better with age. Like, imagine yielding compound interest on your stupid takes. Like, they just get dumber every day. So what do? Well, they're going to come in and like, well, since we completely lost that argument of calling the Pro a scam and calling the Portal DOA, well, now the only remaining victory is we don't pay for online. Whew. Times are tough, boys. If that's the victory lap you have to take, and you're like, yep, look at Reforge Gaming defending PSN, dear Lord, times are tough in the content world. It's tough out here, boys. That's the power of the cloud. It gets better with age. Well, it'll get better with better infrastructure. Gatekeeping online play behind a firewall is lame. Many games you play online, your traffic will never touch a Sony network outside of authentication with your PSN account. Okay. Don't pay for it then. It's a simple equation. You don't see the value in it, then don't pay for it. Next topic. I'd rather be talking about Crimson Desert again. Lono, please. Can we go back to the days where we yelled at each other about Crimson Desert? I'm sick of hearing about PSN. 90% of the games that people play online on PlayStation are free to play and do not require PlayStation. Snake Eyes, it is such a boneheaded discussion because the vast majority of online games that people play live service every day are free to play. Also, the vast majority of the games that PlayStation sells to you from their first-party studios are single-player games. So this notion that, like, it's such a scam and a ripoff, you have to pay for online, it's like, well, I mean, not really. If you're playing the most popular live service games, you don't. If you're primarily playing single-player games, you don't. So what exactly are you moaning about? Like, what? What is all this hullabaloo about? Like, oh, the handful of paid-for games with online. Basically, you have to see zero value in the PS Plus subscription, like the minimal one. You have to see zero value in it if you feel like all you're getting out of it is online. Thank you, Wreck and Havoc, for a 35 stream streak over there on Twitch, man. That's incredible. Nova, did I add your 42-month re-up over there on Twitch? I feel like I did. I do pick up a free game every now and then. Also, backing up my saves to their cloud is nice. You did? Okay. I feel like I did, but my activity feed was glitched on the dashboard. I couldn't see it for a while. I had to refresh twice, and it finally popped up. Race Car says, consoles will never die when you consider some people don't want to set up a computer, troubleshoot computer issues, or even use keyboard and mouse in the first place. Some people want to sit back and relax. This is true. The online fee is just part of the cost of doing business. These mother effers would probably complain about needing to buy or rent bowling shoes. They got microtransactions at the bowling alley? Dude, just chill. We're just here to have a good time. No, this is ridiculous. Monopoly. Scam. I don't know any other words to complain with, but this is a monopoly and a scam. And I'm not doing it. Do I have to pay extra if I want to request a certain color shoe? Like, I can't take this guy anywhere. Just go back home, dude. If they removed online from PSN, the subs would plummet. Obviously, online is huge, so we pay for it. Doesn't mean it's not lame. Oh, again, I'm just kind of like, okay, you think it's lame. Okay, it's all right. Can we move on then? I think it's lame that if I buy a game on Steam and family share it, I can't play it at the same time. So, like, if I want to play a co-op game with my wife on Steam, I have to buy the game twice. I think that's lame. Every time conversations come about Steam, I don't make sure to mention that. I'm like, did you guys know, though, that Steam is ripping you off in the, like, small instances where you buy an online, non-local co-op game and you want to play it on two rigs at the same time and you got to buy the game twice? It's a scam, isn't it? I feel like every time we talk about PlayStation versus PC, all roads lead to this conversation. And it's like, okay, cool, we've established that you don't want to pay for online. Then don't do it. If I had Plus, since before online was included, I would do it for the games. Yeah, I actually don't know if you could argue that it would plummet. I think a lot of people would keep it because of the games. Like, the vast majority of people playing online games don't need it. They're playing the free-to-play games. Can't you share your Steam library through some kind of family plan? Yeah, family sharing only works if you're not trying to play the game at the same time. So, if I were to buy Slay the Spire, which you can play online co-op, if I were to buy Slay the Spire, family share it, and have it installed on two PCs, we couldn't play together because we'd be playing at the same time. That's not allowed with their family sharing. I think that's stupid. But, like, every time somebody talks about the value of Steam, I don't bring that up. I commonly am like, Steam's great. You get tons of early access games. You get tons of exclusives. You get far more AA and indie titles than any other platform out there. Steam is a great value. We've talked about Steam and PC a lot recently, and today I'm bringing it up. to show the point that, like, I don't always bring that up as a criticism, because it's a minor criticism. It's like, okay, that's a really rare instance. Yeah, it's probably a really rare instance and use case that somebody feels strong-armed into paying for PS Plus for the online function, because you don't need it in the free-to-play live service games. So you would need it in a game like Borderlands or Arc Raiders. Now, the average person who's buying Borderlands or Arc Raiders, you would then have to ask the question, are they only paying for PS Plus for the online, or were they already paying for it for, like, the monthly free games? You see? The number of people who are specifically paying for PS Plus for online functionality and non-free-to-play multiplayer games, it's like a super small use case study. It's why it's stupid to complain about. The people that complain about it consistently misrepresent it. Oh, they force you to pay for online. No, they don't. If you're playing free-to-play games, you don't need to. If you're a single-player guy, you primarily only play single-player games, you don't need to. It's a complete misrepresentation of what's needed to console game. They will commonly do this when they do price comparisons, which is why it's relevant to today's topic. If PlayStation's closing the gap on PC, PlayStation 6 walks out into the market with things like frame gen and better upscaling and better PSSR, you're hitting levels of fidelity, image quality, and performance to rival what most people get on PC, probably outpacing what most people get on PC at that point, because most people on PCs are not on super strong rigs. So if the PlayStation 6 can walk out and do that, what are people going to do? They're going to do all this bad faith, terrible arithmetic where they're like, yes, but if you buy that, you have to pay online, and they'll suddenly get thousands of dollars out of thin air that you're allegedly paying for PS Plus. And it's like, we've done the math. If you buy like a PlayStation 5 Pro and 5 years of PS Plus, it still doesn't compare to what you'd have to pay to get a rig that is stronger than it, that's like running things better. It's a continuation of a bad faith argument. Always when this topic comes up, you have people in chat that have been propagandized by tribalists who can't just say, yeah, it's a perfectly good device if it's going to meet your needs. They have to make up all this nonsense where they're like, oh, but it's a scam, and they make you pay for online. And it's like, the amount of use cases where people are being made to pay online has to be like single-digit percentages of the user base. The vast majority of people that play online games are playing the free-to-play ones. You don't need PS Plus for that. Tons of people buy their PlayStation and they stick to single-player games. You don't need PS Plus for that. The only people who are feeling forced to pay for PS Plus are the people who buy games like Helldivers, Arc Raiders, or Borderlands, where you're buying the game and there's an online component, therefore you need PS Plus. You'd have to poll those people and say, well, would you cancel PS Plus if you didn't need it for online? Are you getting benefits from PS Plus outside of the online, like the free games? Are you downloading the free games? Are you playing them? Those monthly games that you get added to PS Plus. Tons of people would be like, that's why I pay for PS Plus. I like to get those games every month. Do you see, like, it's this super narrow use case that people try to contort and pretzel into like a cogent arguments to be like, oh yeah, playing on a console is such a scam. And it's like, no, it's not. These are just the token buzzwords of people that can't string together an actual logical argument. So they use really strong buzzwords because it sounds compelling. It's like, yeah, it's a scam. They make you, they force you. And it's like, no, they don't. What are you talking about? Tons of use cases of users on PlayStation don't need it and aren't paying for it. Look at the number of people who are paying for PS Plus, mid-level to high-level. Compare that to how many people have PlayStations right now. Tons of people aren't paying for it. It's like 90-something million PS5s in circulation. There's still 30-something, 40 million users logging in on PS4. So there's like, they're hitting like 130 million MAUs, like monthly active users. They don't have that many people paying for PS Plus. There are millions of people interacting with the PlayStation ecosystem and the console and not paying for PS Plus, making the argument dumb. It's like, well, if you don't want it, then don't pay for it. If you feel like, well, if I go over there, I play games like Arc Raiders and I play games like Borderlands and I would have to pay for that, that's part of the cost of going into the ecosystem, but the money that you're saving has to be considered. It's cheaper to buy a PS5 Pro than a pre-built rig that's going to be hitting the levels of thresholds of performance that you're getting on the Pro. So the Pro is hitting levels of performance and ray tracing and things like that. If you want a PC that can do that, you're going to spend more money. The money that you save buying the Pro more than covers years of PS Plus, more than covers it. The price difference now is absurd. That's why the argument's bad faith, because if you really crunch the numbers, you're still ahead. If you pick like the lowest level PS Plus plan needed for online, and then you buy the console, what's never considered in the conversation, because these people, I'm telling you, they're bad faith. They enjoy misleading people. They take pride in like propagandizing the little tribalists to be like, PlayStation's a scam and PSN's a scam. You save money buying the console versus a PC. It's undeniable. So the money that you would pay for PSN for the online, you're actually still spending less. That's always lost in the equation. It's less. Crunch the numbers. Do it. Get out your little calculator and crunch it. It's cheaper. It's still cheaper even after like 5-something years of paying for PS Plus, the bare minimum tier needed for online. I don't know about that. I think the Pro is still too expensive, but too expensive compared to what? You're using like a measurement. It's too expensive, okay, compared to what? You're missing the big picture. Once people go PC, they never go back. They will just upgrade the PC as time goes on. I don't care. I'm not telling people to not do that. I just said earlier, sometimes you feel stuck because that's where your library is, and they'll just wait and upgrade their PC. That's completely legitimate. I've never once tried to convince somebody to not play on PC with weird tribalist argumentation, calling things scams and things like that. It's just weird behavior. It's like, if you really measure the price, it's still cheaper to buy the Pro at $750 and pay for the lowest level of PS Plus. It's still cheaper than the rig that you'd have to buy to get comparable performance. Anybody who says that's not true is just straight up lying to you. Look at all the tech breakdowns. Look at the guys that have tried to build PCs that are as performant as the Pro, and they can't do it without spending about twice, if not more now, because things are more expensive now. They spend twice as much money, if not more. That's a lie. I went to PC at the beginning of the gen and I sold it and I went back to my Series X. Well, he's not lying, BMO. I think what he's saying is, in general, people will stay on their home base of gaming. That is generally true. No sane person can argue value or performance per dollar. I really mean this. I think one of the reasons people get in their feels and come in here and make some of the absurd arguments that we've seen this morning, I think it's because they sense their identity and their master race identity. It's the veneer is chipping on the paint. It's like, the conversation's changing. The calculus is changing. In 2 to 3 years, it's like they know. They're like, yeah, that's why I titled the stream the way I did today. The gap is closing, and they know it. You're not going to be able to parade around and be like, oh, but we get so much more, resolution and lighting. And it's like, yeah, all that stuff's coming to console, man. And if you're paying attention if you're a PC guy and you're paying attention to the hardware, for a fact you're getting depreciating returns every hardware jump, making it all the more easy for a console to shrink that gap. You start putting games like Resident Evil 9 and Death Stranding 2 on a Pro, on a nice big screen television, and then you boot up those same games on a PC, a lot of folks are going to say, I don't see a difference. Because the differences are getting smaller. The differences are getting smaller, and I feel like PC boys are in their feels about it. Not all of them. Some of you guys hang out here and are completely fine. But they get in their feels. It's a scam. They're a ripoff. They're a monopoly. They're anti-consumer. Whatever buzzword they can throw out to act like PlayStation's bad. It's like, okay, plenty of people seem to be just fine with PlayStation and buying their products. Just like plenty of people are fine buying buying products on Steam, I should say. The depreciation has changed lately. I sold my 4090 for nearly what I paid for it 2 years prior. That's not the depreciation changing. No, that's scarcity in the market that's driving the value of your 4090 up. It's not that it's not depreciating like it used to. It's that the calculus within the market itself has changed. Your 4090 is more valuable now because of scarcity. People are like, holy frick. There's nothing. Everything's overpriced. Everything's going up. And you're like, well, I've got a 4090 I can sell for practically what I paid for it. Why? Well, because there's a scarcity issue. Maybe not even scarcity. Maybe it's more just prices going up. 4090 has 24 gigs of RAM. The RAM alone is worth it. Yeah, the RAM, issues of scarcity, I think I was correct. Issues of scarcity with RAM and pricing on RAM is driving the value of your 4090 up. It's not like your 4090 isn't depreciating. It's that the market itself is shifting, inadvertently making your 4090 more valuable. Which, I mean, I guess good for you, but the average person, he's right. The depreciation has turned into appreciation. I guess we're saying the same things. We're just using different words, right? Like scarcity and the situation with RAM is slowing your depreciation. I guess we're saying the same thing. He didn't use the wrong word. I'm not trying to be pedantic, but I was just kind of like looking at it from the other side of it. And I'm like, it's not that your card is like better or that they made the card better. Like, we're still dealing with the situation of like, you're going to get diminishing returns on hardware jumps. That was the point that I was making. It felt like he was disagreeing with that. That's why I kind of pushed back. It's like, you are correct. Your cards aren't depreciating like they used to because of scarcity and RAM and all of that. It's creating like an inverted effect where like it's swinging back and it's making something that you bought a year or two ago rise in value due to scarcity and pricing. So that doesn't necessarily, though, refute what I was saying. What I was saying is we're still getting diminishing returns on future hardware. You boys in PC land know this is true. You know it. You can feel it in the way NVIDIA's been talking and what NVIDIA's doing. It's like, yeah, we're not going to be getting those big hardware power jumps anymore. They're going to have to do all this stupid shenanigans with like DLSS 5 and AI and filters and bleh. I don't know, people don't like it. You can sense it's coming. You're like, yeah, they're trying. Listen, that's not my world. So I'm going to commentate from the outside looking in, all right? It's not my world to talk about NVIDIA and all of that. But from the outside looking in, NVIDIA knows we're going to have a really hard time selling GPUs for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is scarcity and pricing is just making absolutely making this so difficult to hit the right numbers that we're going to need to hit with the consumers and selling them, or even just selling them, you know, at a corporate level. But also, it's going to be a lot harder to wow the general public and developers when you're getting those diminishing returns. It's like we're not getting the jumps we used to get. So NVIDIA's like, we need something. We need something to make these things look impressive. What can we do? Well, I think DLSS 5 and all that AI stuff that we saw that people are like basically puking at in response to, that's kind of their goal, and they're setting a forecast of like, well, that's how we're going to surprise people. That's how we're going to wow people. What else are we going to do? We can't just keep raising the resolution. We can't just keep throwing lighting at people. Eventually, you run out of things to throw at people. You need something else. Well, how are you going to justify the price point of those GPUs? You need something. I'm telling you, the gap is closing. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be the same type of responses. You know what people are going to fixate on? I can see the future. They're going to fixate on the PlayStation 6's raw power versus the Pro and the PS5. That's what they'll fixate on. They won't fixate on image quality and performance and features like if they start adding things like path tracing. No. I can see the future. These same people will call the PlayStation 6 a scam. They will. They'll say it's a scam. They'll run to the raw numbers and they'll say, yeah, it's not that much stronger than the PS5 or the PS5 Pro. That's what they'll do. I agree completely. You aren't selling the new generation with more performance per dollar. It's too expensive to fab. You have to lock features to newer cards to sell them. That's exactly what you need to do. The problem with DLSS 5 is it looks like all the AI thumbnail slop, all the AI videos on Twitter. It's funny how many people talk about how great those things are, and then when all of a sudden it lands in video games and people are like, ugh. People are like, ew, I don't want that in my video game. AI will help further close the gap. As long as it's used in a very mirror and enhancing way. You can't know what's going on. If you can sense it and see it, people are going to recoil. How you feeling today? I'm feeling good. That's why people were looking at the responses from everything, and that's why they were saying, ew, we don't want that. I think they'll mostly focus on games not running at native and instead games relying on upscaling. Jackie, are you talking about like what people are going to try and criticize like the next wave of consoles for? I'm a PC gamer and I criticize the gatekeeping of online play, but I've had every iteration of PlayStation since this. I'll never change. PS5 Pro is a hell of a deal. Well, I mean, criticizing them for charging for online play, I mean, I guess. I mean, I just get over things like that. It's like I don't really care because I'm getting other things. Don't say you can see the future. AI will get mad if you do. That's right. I'm telling you right now, the dialogue and the talking points are already forming right now to mislead people about the PlayStation 6. They will fixate on the hardware, they will fixate on the hard numbers, and they will say it's a scam, they will say it's not strong enough. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, they're going to follow the same playbook they followed with the PlayStation 5. They're going to follow the same playbook that they followed with the PS5 Pro. They'll use all the token buzzwords. We'll get into all the same arguments. And it's like, yeah, I'm just already now, from the very, very start, saying that those arguments are absolute hogwash because you're going to have to make, hopefully, the same arguments about all other pieces of hardware that come out. Whether it's a GPU, or whether it's a PC, a prefab PC, a pre-built PC, or Project Helix. Hopefully people keep it a buck about all of those pieces of hardware as well. Because you see what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have to be consistent. If the primary reason for buying new hardware in the future is not these massive power jumps, but things like upscaling and lighting and frame gen, that means everybody's going to be doing that. Every GPU, every pre-built PC, the Project Helix. Honestly, do you guys remember when we had people talking about the Steam Machine and how, oh yeah, I'm just going to get that. That'll be better than a PS5. They're talking 4K 60. How do you think they're going to achieve 4K 60 on the Steam Machine? What technology do you think they're going to be using to do that? I mean, hopefully people are consistent, because if you start running around celebrating Steam Machine in 4K 60, you start running around celebrating Project Helix, you might want to be careful, because both of those pieces of technology are almost assuredly going to be leveraging the exact same things that the PlayStation 6 is going to be leveraging in different versions, different ways for sure. But they're going to be leveraging the same stuff. Updated upscalers, levels of frame gen, something with frames. I mean, that's going to be there. We know it. We know handhelds are going to do the same thing. Epic just laid off 1,000 employees. how did they lay off 1,000 employees? How do they have 1,000 people that are redundant given? That's insane to me. They literally made adjustments to like what people have to pay them when they use the Unreal Engine. They made adjustments to it to make it like more affordable for smaller developers because they were making so much money from Fortnite. And they're like, we got to lay off 1,000 people. What? It's all different versions of the same stuff. They said that they've been spending more than they're making. Golly. At this point, it's dumb to not use those technologies. Note that this is not permission to abuse those techs. They're also shutting down game modes. Fortnite's shutting down several popular game modes for good. It's probably just getting too broad to support. Listen, my kiddos play Fortnite, and you want to know what they did? They defaulted to Battle Royale. Because I think all those gimmicks and silly games, eventually the veneer wears, and it's like, yeah, I don't care about this stuff. You know, like, I think it's interesting that my kids are 10 and 12, and even they just kind of got to the point where they're like, I just want to play the Battle Royale. Don't you think that's funny? Like, they don't have a history with Fortnite Battle Royale. Their exposure to Fortnite was silly, goofy games, prop hunt and stuff like that. And now they're like, yeah, I just play Battle Royale. So like, if you load up Fortnite, it is a freaking mess. It's a mess because there's so many modes and mini games and all this weird stuff. I'm pushing my kids to play Marathon. Are you trying to teach them a lesson in disappointment, Ginger? It's like, you're going to learn hard lessons. You're going to lose your loot. You're going to get really mad. People are going to kill you. People are going to take your stuff. Oh, and the game might not be around in 6 months. Anything you get is going to get taken from you in 3 months. These are some hard lessons. I like some of the creative games in Fortnite, played a lot. Well, my kiddos liked them too. It's not like they were having a bad time. I just think the veneer faded. They were like, nah, we just want to play the Battle Royale. I also think they wanted to grind the battle passes. They saw some cool characters and they saw some K-pop demon hunters and they were like, oh, we want to grind the battle pass. So, it's clear to me that Fortnite got really, really broad. I mean, every time they opened it, I was like, how do you guys find anything? It's like a mess. If Ginger got all of his kids into Marathon, it would double the player counts. Stop. Yeah, Ginger, we need more people with big families to make their kids play Marathon. They need it. They need the numbers, man. Oh, they must have done maintenance overnight. Yeah, they must have done some maintenance overnight. It dropped way down. Fortnite has way too many modes. It's become almost shovelware. It literally looks like that hotshot when you open it up. Like, it's kind of absurd. All of my kid and his friends play in the custom games, almost never the BR. I mean, I'm not saying that my kids are the be-all, end-all of Fortnite. I'm just saying it's interesting that even they were like, yeah, we're not really doing that anymore. You know what I mean? They were like, yeah, we're kind of over all those goofy games. The Lego Fortnite stuff was cool for a day or two. I agree with you. Yeah, about a day or two. Madam and I were grinding it, and then it was just like, it was such a slog and a grind, it wasn't fun. Pal World is the game that we've stuck with the longest that's kind of like a grind like that. Because it just continually feels like we're kind of crafting and building our own space. It just feels good. Like, it's just like a nice, I don't know. We tried, what was the game that was free? Core Keeper. Yeah, Core Keeper was the one that we were playing. And that's when I told her, I was like, you know what? We should try Pal World. Because we liked Core Keeper until we didn't. And we liked Lego Fortnite until we didn't. We're like 40 hours into Pal World and we're still going strong. She has just become addicted to clearing the map. And then I'm just like investing in the tech and stuff. I don't know how easy it is to move your base. That's the only thing we're dealing with now is we're just running out of space. You know what I mean? Hilly says only the Catholics can save Marathon. That's right. 6 kids, Catholic. I love Power World, but it's got some jank to it. Oh yeah, it does. It does. It's a little janky. Still waiting on Voidbreaker on PS5. No update on that yet. Yeah, my save got corrupted when I played the demo, so I never went back. I was really close to being strong enough to beat that one boss. I got him all the way to his last phase, and I think on my second try I got him to his last phase. And then when I went back the next time to play it, my save was corrupted. And I was like, well, I'm done. It's powered fine on PS5. Yeah, I think it plays fine. There's a little hitching every now and again, but it's an online game, so I kind of expect that. Overall, performance is good. It's fun. We've not had any crashes. I think we've had the servers go down once or twice in 40 hours. So the one time the server went down, it was a disconnect and we got right back in and we were right back where we were. The other night, the servers just straight up went down. Like, we just couldn't play. We just had to stop playing for the night. You can build a new base, don't got to move it. I want to move it right close to where we are, and you can't. It's like, you're too close to your base. You're too close to your base. So it's like we've got all of our beds and all of our dudes, and they're all doing their thing. And I would like to just expand the area that we're in instead of having to just move everybody. I guess we could throw everybody into the PAL box and then destroy everything. The problem is when you do that, you got to pick up all the materials, and you're overburdened. And yeah, your kids should play Power World with you. It's super fun with the kids. Every once in a while they get tempted, but they're all about throwing down in Battle Royale right now. They're all about it. That's what they want to do. That's their thing right now, man. Like, they're proud every week. They're like, oh, I got 5th place, 3rd place. Like, they were winning pretty consistently, and now they're not. And I told them that was going to happen. Every week, they would consistently win 2, sometimes 3 games. Now, every week, they're typically top 5, top 10. They're not winning as much. With the updates to Crimson Desert, are you willing to check it out again, or are you moving on? I mean, I'm moving on until the game's worth playing. As I estimate it right now, it's not worth playing. The controls still feel like crap, and performance is still not where I think is acceptable. The conversation about Crimson Desert quickly went from, this is going to be a Game of the Year frontrunner, this is going to be the most amazing game ever, to a 70%'s pretty good. Like, okay. Like, people are like, you're just mad the score's going up. Like, no. Why would I be mad about that? They misled the public, marketed the game as the second coming. They launched it. It wasn't ready to launch. It was in a terrible state on console. I would argue still is in a terrible state on console. It had a terrible score in the first 24 hours on Steam, and a bunch of people refunded. They had a patch ready to go within a day. It's like, well, that patch was ready that quickly because they knew all those problems existed. They shipped a game that wasn't ready. Like, you having fun, Steam reviews and people playing more say it's good. That's not the debate. They were misleading with their marketing. They shipped a game that wasn't ready. And you're like, but the Steam reviews are going up and people are saying it's good. Congratulations, you're part of the problem. Welcome to everything wrong with big game launches. Overhyped marketing that misleads the public and completely misrepresents the product. The game launches is got all sorts of problems and all sorts of issues, but because they're patching it and fixing it and players are having a good time, all is forgiven. That's everything wrong with big game launches. Like, was it okay that Jedi Survivor did the same thing, basically? The idea that we just that quickly are going to just wash over everything that company did, it's so unnerving to me. It's like they misled people. They lied, completely misrepresented the product. It is such a mediocre game. It's so mediocre. Everything in the game is just borrowed from other games. It is got to be one of the weirdest anomalies I think I've ever seen in game releases. Consoles and PCs are two different stories from everything I'm seeing, which I kind of predicted. I mean, at some level, I think it fared better on PC because you could tweak things and you could turn off the ray tracing. I said before the game came out that was going to be a huge advantage to PC, right? The score continually dropped on console. It went from like a 96 to I think it settled at like a 76 or a 78 now. That's not a triumph. That isn't a triumph. People are acting like it's a triumph that they're fixing a game they shipped broken. They shipped a game that wasn't ready, and it's like, let's all clap for the person that intentionally spilled milk and cleaned it up. Like, what? Yeah, and what Leo is saying, all the people that refunded, all those negative scores got tossed out. That's why I said it went from like a 50-something% on Steam overnight to a 60. That didn't happen because all of a sudden people stormed the castle with positive reviews. A bunch of the negative reviews left. Like, because as soon as your refund processes, your negative score doesn't hit the aggregate. That situation is people are like, you wanted the game to fail. No, I didn't. I wanted them to be honest in their marketing. I wanted them to ship a game that was ready and didn't run like crap on console. For goodness sakes, have you seen the Series S footage? It is terrible. But all is well. All is well. They're patching it and they're listening. So it's okay that they sold an incomplete, busted product to people that they had no business selling it to them while showing them misleading footage and tricking them. That's fine because they're patching it. Okay. With little kids, anyone who cleans up the milk is a hero in my book. Yeah, I'm not going to give my son a standing ovation if he intentionally spills milk and then is like, but I cleaned it up. I'm going to be like, so what? You intentionally spilled it. They knowingly shipped a game on consoles that wasn't in a good state on consoles. They knowingly shipped a game that had all sorts of issues and like weird overlaid systems. We're just going to ignore what the developers said that worked at the company. Like, it wasn't busted. I agree with you all the way up to that point. It wasn't busted. So it would just straight up crash when you open the map. That's not busted. Performance issue, like basically anytime you're in a town or a city. If you're not on the Pro, way more people on the base PS5. Performance is disastrous as soon as you're around a lot of NPCs. But it wasn't busted. What? Imagine Ubisoft doing that. What would have happened if Assassin's Creed Shadows would have launched in the state of Crimson Desert? What do you think people would have done? It's fine, they're patching it. It wasn't busted. I mean, the entire game just crashed if you open the map. As soon as you went to town, and there were lots of NPCs around, it was like 40 frames per second. But it's fine, they're patching it. You would never see this level of defense for like a Ubisoft game shipping in this state. But the Pearl Abyss somehow got people to buy into the notion that like, well, if the game lets you do a lot of stuff, it can be a subpar game. Like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Perfect Image, that's old. That's from a really old interview about Intergalactic. Performance mode looks like dog water on console. If you can stomach lower FPS in like open world games, you'll have a good experience. That was literally a huge problem because I had zero issues from day one. Yeah, it's a not me Andy. Not me. We got a not me Andy. Did you see the video from Gamers Nexus about Crimson Desert GPU benchmarks and all the stuff that they encountered? Did you guys watch that video? Watch Gamer Nexus, the video by Gamers Nexus about Crimson Desert GPU benchmarks, and talk to me about how the game shipped in a fine state because you're not having any trouble. Jiminy, I cannot believe that game is getting such a pass. It blows my mind how much of a pass that game is getting. Unbelievable. If Ubisoft or EA or Activision, if any major studio would have shipped a game like this, like Blizzard, people would have crucified them and not given it a second glance. But this game is like, hey, let's be derivative open world game and just borrow ideas from every other open world game, ship with abysmal performance and bad muddy image quality and art direction that's like basically nothing. It's just photorealistic medieval world. And everyone's like, oh, this is the greatest game ever. It's okay that they shipped a game that was clearly not ready for launch. Why would I be looking for issues when I have a great time, when I'm having a great time? That's fair pushback. If you're having a great time, you're not going to go watch videos about benchmark tests and problems. But you also, according to your own logic, shouldn't be making assessments about the state of the game based on just your experience then, right? Have you done the due diligence of watching the videos, the breakdowns, the technical analysis, the criticisms? If you haven't done that, then you can't speak to the game's quality based on your own subjective experience. Like the I'm not having any trouble is not an indication of the game's quality. It's an indication of your experience. Stop looking for problems and just play games. That's right. Just be a stupid consumer and just buy the next product because they put flashy trailers in front of you, shipped a game that wasn't ready. Within 24 hours, they had a patch note list longer than a CVS receipt. Just buy the next product, you dumb consumer. That's a great policy. Don't ask questions. Don't be critical. Don't scrutinize misleading marketing. Just buy next product. Accept product. Just be dumb. Like that's what you're advocating for. Digital Foundry called it amazing. He played it on the Pro, by the way. Digital Foundry is also encouraging people to not run performance mode because it doesn't run consistently. I don't agree with Digital Foundry's assessment. I don't think you should be encouraging people to not play on performance mode in 2026 and being like, but it's a fun open world game, so it's okay. I don't agree with their opinion. I don't. John Linneman had a fun time. I like John Linneman. And I like when he breaks things down on a technical level. I don't go to John Linneman for preferences about these types of things because he said the same thing about Final Fantasy 16. He said to just play it in quality mode and the motion blur that was baked in was worth leaving on. I don't agree with John Linneman. He's great at tech breakdown. I don't see eye to eye to him on certain issues, and this is one of them. I didn't agree with him about Final Fantasy 16, and I don't agree with this either. Horrible controls, the story's non-existent, sound design's all over the place, and glitches and game crashing bugs. And people are like, but it's okay because they're patching it. Like, okay. It's seeing sustained player numbers. People are enjoying the game. That doesn't refute anything I've just said. The same thing happened with Cyberpunk. Should we go back and do the same thing with Cyberpunk? Cyberpunk shipped to like a 70-something% on Steam. It's identical at some levels. It's almost identical. Cyberpunk shipped at like a 70-something% on PC, and the guys on PC didn't experience almost near the problems that people experience on console. That game was so bad on console, they had to pull it from the dadgum store. This is so similar to that. It's like the guys on PC are having a better experience, and the score is better on PC. So we're just going to ignore all of the other issues. To be fair, it was an effing fast patch. Yeah, because it was already ready, Jakob. They weren't like, thanks for all the feedback. And then the next day they're like, we fixed everything. No, they knew about all those issues. They knew about those issues. That's why the patch was ready so quickly. Cyberpunk on PC always was the better game, which never was a refutation of how that game shipped. You guys have to see that. It's such a non-point. Oh, it's doing fine on PC. Lots of people are playing. That has nothing to do with the misleading marketing. That has nothing to do with the state that game shipped in. It doesn't apply. It didn't apply with Cyberpunk and doesn't apply now. They misled millions of people who bought the game, and luckily, it seems like PlayStation and Xbox are being very lenient with refunds. I'm seeing lots of people saying they're getting refunds on console. Why? Because they were lied to. What they showed you in the trailers is nothing like the experience on console. They're basically different games. They don't even look the same. You play it at performance mode on like a base PS5, homies, it looks like a PS4 game. And then go look at the trailers on the PlayStation channel. But it said PC footage. I don't give a frick. It was misleading. These current consoles are showing their age, going on 8 years? That's a lifetime in the tech world? Completely and utterly and demonstrably false. They're not showing their age. Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2 proved that last year. As consoles get near the end of their life cycle, games look better and run better. That's the pattern. One game does not indicate that, oh yeah, the consoles are showing their age. Well, wouldn't that be true of most of the people on PC as well? What you're saying can't even be demonstrated, Jakob. It isn't true. Say what? What do you mean, say what? Death Stranding 2 dog walks this game on console. Absolutely dog walks it. Amazing draw distance, huge open world, much better image quality and performance. Makes this game look like a dadgum joke. Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2 could run on PS4. They're not technically advanced. False and untrue. Anything else you got to say? Like, why do we just say things that aren't true? That's not true. If you think that Yotei and Death Stranding 2 could run on a PS4 and they're quote-unquote not technically advanced, you've not watched any of the breakdowns of either of those games and the tech that they're running. You literally are speaking about something that you don't know about. You're speaking ignorantly. That isn't true. Every gen. No, Yotei's not using Decima. It's an in-house Sucker Punch engine. The tech is old. You're not saying anything. Now you're just restating the same thing. You can't say these consoles don't have old hardware. I'm not saying that. You're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm going to say it again and try interacting with this instead of something else. I'm going to say it again. Every time you get to the end of a generation, the technology gets tapped into in a more efficient way. Games look better and run better in the late twilight hours of a gen. It happens all the time. Look at the end of the PS4 era. You got The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man 1, God of War 2018, Ghosts of Tsushima. Those were all late-gen games on the PS4. And they look ridiculous for that gen. The only thing they're really lacking is performance. If they could have run a 60 FPS, oh my gosh. Like, that's what you get late gen. You get games that look and run better. That's the pattern. The pattern is not late in the life of the gen, games start to suck and run bad. It's the opposite. Like, all of the weird arguments people use, I want you to think about what you're doing. You're defending a company that was willfully dishonest. They intentionally obfuscated and wouldn't let people see console footage. And you're like, well, the tech's old. Oh, okay. That means it's okay to mislead the public? Cyberpunk did the same thing and it shipped on old tech. Was it okay that they did it too? Like, what are we talking about? Cyberpunk did the same thing. It shipped on old tech. It was inexcusable. Was that the response? Well, the tech's old. The tech's old. So it's okay? What? What are we even talking about? Zubair says, Jakob, why don't you answer my question? Yeah, Zubair would like to know how old the tech that you're playing on, Jakob. Like, plenty of people right now are playing that game on PC, on rigs, that aren't all that much more stronger than console. They aren't. There are tons of people. We know from the Steam reports, you can look at the player numbers and know the vast majority of people playing that game are playing on hardware that is equal to or weaker than consoles, which means they're lowering settings. They're turning off the ray tracing, right? They're not playing on front of the wave PCs. The stats aren't there to support the idea. If this game is so dishonest, then why didn't Sony open the gate for people refunding on base PS5 like they did with Cyberpunk? Well, it's a false equivalency. The reason they took the game from the storefront with Cyberpunk is Cyberpunk was virtually unplayable. It was far more extreme. I'm not saying it's that extreme, but I'm saying that it's similar. They shipped on consoles in a state that's inexcusable. And yes, I'm seeing multiple claims in our Discord and on Twitter. People are getting refunds on Xbox and PlayStation significantly easier with Crimson Desert than they have with previous games. He's on a 9800 X3D with a 9070 XT. He'll answer you, Zuby. He has to Google an answer that supports his narrative. Give him a second. They did open refunds. As far as I can tell, people are getting refunds on Crimson Desert extremely easily on console. Like, you basically just have to go ask and they're giving you your money back. I've seen multiple people claim that. Now, they could be lying. I don't see why they would lie. I got mine back on Xbox. They didn't even. I got it back within an hour. No questions asked. They just refunded me. Jakob's been here a long time. I don't think he's lying about his hardware. He's just making a bad argument. There's a difference between lying about your hardware and making a bad argument. He's been here too long. I don't think he's like, yeah, I'm making stuff about his hardware. He could easily get back in the Discord and share a screenshot and prove that he's got a nice PC. The problem with his argument is what I pointed out. It's not something you can demonstrate. You usually get into the late life of a generation of consoles and the games look and run better. The studios get better at leveraging the tech. Pearl Abyss didn't do that. They knew the game ran poorly on console. They knew it. They wouldn't show it to you. That's lying by omission. They knew all the problems with the game that people were going to complain about. It's why they had a patch ready that was a mile long within a day. They knew all those issues. And they shipped the game anyway. They took people's money anyway. I do not understand why we're accepting of it. It's not acceptable. These are the very things that we have fought against the entire time that I've been covering games for the last 10 years. These are the textbook things that we rail against and don't want companies doing. But for some reason, Pearl Abyss, people are like, it's fine because I'm having fun. Okay. The situation with Crimson Desert is nowhere near what it was with Cyberpunk. I know, I just said that. Thank you for agreeing with me. I just said that. You're literally agreeing with something that I just said. It's not as bad, but it's extremely similar. They knowingly shipped a game on consoles that is running markedly worse than virtually every other game that has launched this gen. There isn't anything right now that you can buy that looks and runs this poorly from any major studio this gen. Like, you can't do it. Outside of Gotham Knights, you can't find a game that looks and runs this bad on the consoles. It's bad. It's this generation's, I would argue it's this generation's Cyberpunk. An overzealous, overambitious, misleading marketing campaign, and the game comes out on consoles, and it's the worst running game I've seen from a major studio. It runs terribly on consoles. People are like, well, it's fine. I just run quality mode and just do this and just do that and the third and change your settings and tilt your head to the side. No. Yeah, there's multiple reports on Twitter. PlayStation is issuing refunds for Crimson Desert on PS5. The PlayStation Store has begun granting refunds for Crimson Desert due to critical issues, including crashes and map-related bugs. Sony is making exceptions to its unusual refund policy. There are multiple reports on Twitter of people claiming that it's really, really easy. It's far easier to get a refund on Crimson Desert than any other game. Do you want to know why? It's this generation Cyberpunk. It's a bill of goods. They misled people. It runs like crap. It looks so bad. I can't believe the screenshots people post. And they're like, look how good it looks. Gollum says hi. I said major studio. Gollum wasn't from a major studio. Pearl Abyss is a pretty major studio. I mean, they made Black Desert Online. They're not some little, like, ruddy studio that took their first effort on something. If Sony's giving refunds, then you know you done effed up. Sony is notoriously bad about refunds. You know what I should try? I should try and get a refund and just see. I mean, I don't want to. I want to keep it on my PlayStation so anytime they do an update, I can test it and report back to you guys. Because listen, for the sake of the fans who were looking forward to it, and for the sake of the fans who bought it and are stuck with it, maybe they played too long or whatever, I would argue that I hope they have a 2.0 moment for those people. This generation Cyberpunk? Yeah. It's literally this generation Cyberpunk. It's getting a better score and better reception on PC. People are hailing it as some triumph on PC, and people on console are like, this game runs like crap, I want my money back. It's the exact same. Look at the dialogue. It's identical. Time is a flat circle. It's the same conversation. All the boys on PC are like, I don't know what the big deal is. It's great. It's got like a 70-something% on Steam. And guess what? The people on console are having such a bad experience, they're trying to get their money back. It's the same thing. It's not as extreme because you couldn't even play Cyberpunk on console, but it's the exact same formula. An overhyped game that probably shouldn't have shipped on consoles, ships on consoles, and all the boys on PC are like, I don't know what your problem is. The game's great. Look at the player numbers and look at the Steam charts and look at the Steam score. Look at, like, when Cyberpunk launched on Steam, it had 1 million concurrents. In the weeks that followed, so in December, it topped out 1 million. In January, it was averaging over 200,000 players. It's remarkable, isn't it? Can I go back to that specific time? Now, in February, it fell. It fell to like 47,000. But in December, averaging like 1 million concurrents, or that was probably the peak. And then the peak in January was 225,000. It's like the same thing. Your t-shirts from Cyberpunk, just noticed. Yeah, I became a huge fan of Cyberpunk and Phantom Liberty. Phantom Liberty was amazing. What about Dragon's Dogma 2, though? I don't think Dragon's Dogma was quite as hyped to this degree, and I don't think it had the engagement numbers and the defense force that Dragon's Dogma did. I think Dragon's Dogma, people were a lot more honest about how crappy it ran and how bad it ran. This game checks all the boxes. Way overhyped, hailed as the second coming of an open world, RPG-like game. They kept saying it wasn't an RPG. The people that like the game are calling it an RPG. This open world RPG that's going to be graphically stunning and just be this amazing living world. And PC gets a ton of people to play, and the score is pretty good there in the 70s. Hundreds of thousands of people playing, and it runs poorly on console. Looks nothing on console like what they were promised, and people on console are getting refunds. It's the same dadgum playbook. And the people defending it are pointing to the player numbers in the Steam and the Steam score. You could do the same thing with Cyberpunk when it came out, hitting 1 million concurrent peak players in December, hitting 225,000 peak concurrent players in January. That's Cyberpunk. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You have a defense force of people that will just ignore all the things that happened in the lead up, all the dishonest, misleading marketing. They just ignore all that because it's doing fine on PC. The same thing happened with Cyberpunk. You back then, I remember talking to people about this. There were people that were like, I don't get what the big deal is. Cyberpunk is fine. What's the problem? Cyberpunk's fine. It's got like a 75% on Steam. What's the big deal? It was the same conversation that we're having about Crimson Desert. The thing that really, really frustrates me is these guys could have dug down deep and they could have made this game for PC and really optimized it and tweaked a lot of these settings and then brought it to console later, and the game would be in a much better state. I'm hesitating on getting it on PS5, but I think I'll find a used copy at GameStop and give it a 3-day run before returning it. I think that's a perfectly good strategy. I'd also wait for a couple more patches. I'd wait for a couple more patches. How's it running on the Series S? It's terrible. I mean, have you seen the screenshots? It's bad. That's the majority of the Xbox user base this gen. And you guys are like, yeah, that's fine. Have you seen the footage and the screenshots? It's terrible. Oh, yeah, Gotham Knights. I don't know if they issued refunds for Gotham Knights. Here's one of the reasons I bet you that PlayStation's issuing refunds. Because they can see the crash reports. And I don't think Dragon's Dogma 2 and Gotham Knights were known for crashes. They were just known for poor performance and, like, not good image quality. They can literally see how often that Crimson Desert is crashing if people are submitting those reports. There's probably a report they can run somewhere, and they're like, oh yeah, Crimson Desert's got a huge spike of people submitting crash reports. And when that happens, they're probably a lot more willing to give people refunds. They're probably a lot more willing to give people refunds. If Series S is all you've ever known, is it really that bad? It's relative, especially if you're running on a 1080 TV. I mean, I think that's fair, Yelgler. My frustration, and what gets lost in these conversations every single time, is my frustration from moment one was the misleading marketing. We should not defend that just because you're having fun. Just because your PC is strong enough to get around some of the issues, or you got over the absolute abysmal control setup or the mundane story, that doesn't defend how the game was marketed. It doesn't. Those are separate issues. They're separate. I agree on that, and I can run the game fine on my PC. To be fair, I don't think we will ever achieve this level of unity in the overall gaming community. Players on platforms with no issues will be happy and their purchase rather than join the fight. That's a completely and fair made point. I don't expect you to take up arms and like get angry because these people over here are having a bad time. I don't expect that. I just expect you to not defend it. It's okay to be like, you know what, I'm having a good time, but it's a bummer for those people over there. Or, you know what, I'm having a good time, but yeah, I agree. They shouldn't have marketed the game in the way that they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the defending that drives me crazy. It's like, you shouldn't be defending the studio. The fact that they're patching it this quickly means they knew the game wasn't ready at launch. They willingly took people's money with a visibly incomplete product. Them fronting that the game runs so well on the consoles, people wouldn't believe it. Yeah, it's like we so quickly forget the claims that they made. They told Fighting Cowboy that they weren't putting out console footage because we wouldn't believe them. Homies, they said that with a straight face. Oh yeah, you wouldn't believe us. This guy says, Reforge did not play the game, therefore his opinions are invalid. Play the game before taking his example on it. I personally am enjoying it despite some of the small flaws. It genuinely respects me as a gamer. Tech breakdowns and misleading marketing don't require me to play the game. Try again. Lying to the public and obfuscating the console footage pre-launch did not respect the consumer at all. This idea that like the game respects you, these guys did the opposite of respecting the consumer. They lied to you. They sold you a bill of goods. They were talking all this talk about, oh, it's going to run so well you wouldn't believe us. We're going to send it to Digital Foundry. And then when the game ships and runs poorly on console, people are like, they're so hungry for a game like this. They're like, well, didn't you play it on Steam? I mean, Madam played it on Steam. and it still had issues, and it still was clumsy and awkward for her to play. Like, you guys have seen Madam play. Madam can game. She can game. She's not a pro gamer, but she can throw down. She can game. And even she was like, is struggling with the controls because the controls are backwards. They're stupid. The game is so Bush League and amateurish. It's like, because it's big, everybody's just looking the other way at all the amateurish, just Bush League mistakes that they're making. It's remarkable to me. It just truly is. It's got to be one of the weirdest instances in game coverage that I've ever experienced. It's like just looking the other way on all the issues. I cannot imagine another game coming out with that control scheme and those performance issues and people being like, well, it's fine because it's big and I'm having fun. It's like, all right. My missus would have no chance with Crimson Desert. Respect. You know how disrespectful it is to get home from working 10 hours and trying to play this game and it crashes looking at the map? Yeah. We had a crash on PC and Madam lost one of the items that she found. She would have had to go back down probably into that sewer and go to that corner and go to that chest to get it. Tried Void Hunters now? Why do I feel like I know this? Oh, Void Hunters is that turn-based game that looks an awful lot like Expedition 33. Now creators are farming the Crimson Desert comeback. I personally am a fan of the game. It's just funny. I'm cheering for the game to have a 2.0 moment. Not for the developers because they don't deserve it. They were dishonest and they don't deserve another chance. It's not like they shipped a game and then like all of a sudden problems started to emerge that they didn't foresee, like an online game or something. Like they knowingly hid things and they knowingly misled people. Their development process was freaking terrible, and them having a 2.0 moment and a comeback moment, I'm only cheering for that so that the fans of the game can have a good game to play. That's it. It's like there are plenty of people that were looking forward to this thing, and it's a very disappointing game. I hope you can get it to a place where they can enjoy it, with respect to the controls especially. Lona going full Eugene on this one. There will be no forgiveness. Maybe watch LD's video on this game. Why? I don't get why some of you guys think like my mind's going to be changed watching somebody say that they think the game is good. Like, how many times does he invoke the mythical they in the video? Well, I guess would be my question. Like, that's not going to change my mind. Watching somebody who's having a good time isn't going to change my mind. I really like Force Gaming, and I watched his follow-up video, and he readily acknowledges all the problems, and he talks about why he's having such a good time. And you know what's crazy? I'm sitting there watching him play, and I'm like, that's literally the game that I was hoping this game could be. Like, open world exploratory purpose. Homie finds a crazy cool spear just randomly in the side of a mountain. Force Gaming is having a blast with this game. It didn't change my opinion of how they marketed it. It didn't change my opinion of how dishonest the company is and how it's running poorly on console. I really like Force Gaming, and I respect his opinion, but it didn't change what I think. I wasn't suddenly like, oh yeah, the game's fine, everything's fine now because Force likes it. It didn't change my opinion at all. If anything, it reinforced my opinion. It's like this game could have been such a triumph if you guys just would have taken your time and, I think, prioritized PC, shipped on PC first. I would even argue they should have shipped this game in early access. I think they should have shipped this game in early access on PC, did the Baldur's Gate thing, fixed all these issues, combed over all these issues, right? And then they could have shipped an amazing game the way Baldur's Gate did. Everyone minus DSP enjoys it. Homie, globally it has like a 75%, and the score continually dropped on PlayStation. That's ridiculous. Globally, the game has a 75%. That's not a Game of the Year triumph. That isn't. That's a tepid score on Steam. That's like lots of people didn't like it. Lots of people are not recommending it. Lots of people are having problems and crashes. What are we even talking about? It's like perfectly scored. It got a 78. It got a 78 from the critics. It's got a 75 globally on Steam. And then the PlayStation score is a 76. It's so consistently scored in like the mid 70s. Like that's not a triumph. It isn't. It's consistently getting like a mid 70s score. That's not terrible, and that's not a triumph. That means plenty of people aren't liking the game. Not the majority, but plenty of people. Imagine sitting here. I want you to imagine. Imagine Ghost of Yotei or another PlayStation first-party studio game coming out and having a 3.8 on the PlayStation Store. Imagine that happening. Imagine them showing off the graphics and the world of Yotei, and then it ships, and it runs as poorly as Crimson Desert does. Imagine PlayStation doing that, and then getting a 3.8 in their own storefront. What do you think people would do and say? Do you think they would say that that's fine? Do you think that they would say that a 76 is a perfectly respectable score? Would they say, oh, well, they're fixing it? No, they wouldn't. People would be incensed. They'd be like, are you kidding me? You misled the public. You used trailers to make people think they were going to have an experience that they didn't have. Any other game would have gotten crucified except for like a From Software game. Yeah, From Software gets away with this kind of launch as well, like performance issues and lack of features. Imagine Clips of Atsu doing the fumbles that Cliff is doing. I know they had no incentive to, but what if they release it at a lower price point? Again, I think the thing that frustrates me is the game has so much potential. And if they would have shipped this game on PC in early access, it would have, I think it would have gone far better. And then they could have shipped a really, really banger of a game because they could have spent a lot of time iterating on the controls, like the early game onboarding, the clunky systems, and the weird stuff that you got to do with like holding the left bumper and stuff. They could have iterated on all of that in early access and shipped a much better game. That's what frustrates me. Is it's like they tried to market it as this triumph, as this new, insane, unparalleled open world. That's why I'm saying it's the cyberpunk of this generation. It's like, it's none of those things. It's a mid-70s score game with a bunch of problems. And it runs so poorly on console, people are getting refunds. I don't know what to tell you. The base PS5 can handle the game at 60 FPS. Why do they not use FSR 3 to upscale a 90p image to 1440? I like the game a lot, but the performance mode on the base console is terrible. Thank you. Yes. There are so many amateurish decisions and Bush League choices with the controls and the structure of the game. They get no pass. It's like, no, I guarantee you they've made terrible decisions about the optimization on console as well. Just look at how they handle the controls in the system, the systems within the game. Games with complex systems and controls are perfect for early access. You need the direct feedback. Also, people let you know performance is not okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame because I think everybody would have been completely understanding and a lot more gracious, but that didn't fit with the marketing. Pearl Abyss didn't market it like CD Projekt Red did. CD Projekt outright said it was a next gen of open world adventure, as if they were the new Rockstar. I don't agree with you. I think all the marketing for this game was so cranked to 11 and dishonest. The way they showed the open world and the graphics and the performance and all the freedom that you were going to have. Risic says, I don't really find the controls that bad. Even the people that like it, I've run into a lot of people, Risic, that are like, yeah, the controls are pretty bad. So, I mean, if you found a way to enjoy it, some of that could be, maybe you have a history with, like, fighting games or games with complex controls. I don't know. Are you live right now? I am. Crimson Desert is a great example of a huge game, not a quality game, and made for multiple platforms. The majority of people say the same thing, that the controls suck. Yeah, Bethesda used to get away with stuff like this, and they don't really let them get away with it anymore. The controls were made by somebody who hasn't played a game before. I think the controls are the result of them just shoving every system that they thought was cool into the game. I think that's ultimately what happened. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. It's that everybody was trying to do something at the same time, and it just made the systems, operate in conflict with each other. Sony announces PS Cash, a built-in digital wallet for PlayStation 5, managed digital currency, PlayStation Star rewards, and in-game purchases all in one place. I really hope that leads to refunds being easier. Just put the money back in my PS Cash. Like, maybe that's a bridge to refunds. I would frickin' love that. That would be a huge, huge win for people who game on PlayStation. Are we going to ignore the fact that the devs said that they are tired of console players asking for footage? Yeah, the guy, their head of PR said, I'm sick of answering this question. We're not hiding anything. They literally were hiding. They lied. I don't know what to say. They lied about the game. They lied about performance. They lied about us getting console footage before launch. They just kept lying. And then they misrepresented the game's performance. The trailer, the footage that we finally did get to see was heavily edited so that we couldn't see a lot of the glaring issues. The quality of the videos were poor. This is replacing PS Stars. It'd be really, really nice if them adding something with this PS Cash would be a bridge to saying, hey, we should be able to just refund games now. If it's under 2 hours, just take the license away and put the money back in my wallet. Where did he work before Pearl Abyss? I don't know. Asha Sharma is saying she's going to make Game Pass cheaper. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she offers a cheaper level FCAT, and then it'll just be with like ads and stuff. They were already experimenting with that. It was speculated a while ago that they were going to add a tier of Game Pass that would be cheaper, that would have ads. They would not say a lie, but an omission. I think the way that he answered it was a volitional lie. He willfully deceived. That's my opinion. When you say, I'm sick of getting this question about console footage, and the answer is, we will reveal things, I think that is a volitional act of deception. He knew what he was doing. He knew people were going to read that and think, he just promised me console footage before launch. If I keep asking you about console footage and you say, we're going to reveal things prior to launch so that you can pre-order, that is a volitional choice. That is a willful act of deception. It is. There's no other way to describe it. It was a lie. It wasn't like omission would be not answering the question. That's omission. Omission is like if he would have said something to the effect of, we have lots of trailers out right now for people to watch. Okay, that's omission. That's like dodging the question. When people keep badgering you for console footage and you say, we will reveal things, that is a willful act of deception. You are telling the public to their question about console footage that you're going to reveal things. You know exactly what people did when they heard that. They interpreted it to mean we're going to get console footage prior to launch. I know people thought that because they came running to me and said that. They were like, oh, he said we're going to get console footage before launch. And I tried to warn them. I'm like, that's not what he said. He was very careful with his phrasing. He probably got a bonus for getting people to pre-order and buy the game and the numbers that they did. Oh yeah, I'm sure they're pleased. I'm sure they're pleased with him. He stood out there on the front lines, and he got a little snippy and combative, but like he didn't hurt the product in any way. He did his job. He did his job. He played the part of misleading the public about the game. He did. He did. He did his job. That's what they wanted him to do. They were like, listen, the game's not going to run very well on console. It's going to look really bad on console. We're not going to show any of this footage pre-launch. We don't want anybody to see this. So, I remember what I said when he was doing the interviews. He was doing all those podcasts. I said, my spidey sense is tingling because this feels like you're trying to give the appearance of transparency. I don't think I've ever seen a studio do that with a big game. Like, we're going to go and do a bunch of interviews with just like random podcasts. It wasn't like they went to like major outlets and did the interviews. They were doing just like content creator podcasts, which that has the appearance of transparency. Like, oh, this guy's answering questions and he's active on Reddit and he's going on these podcasts. I told everybody what that was. I was like, this is overcompensation. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're too accessible. And then when you're getting the same question over and over about console performance, you answered it in a very, very calculated way. I watched Phil Spencer do very similar things over the years. You craft the phrasing just right so that people get the wrong impression. Could you imagine him saying, well, the consoles are struggling to show the true vision that the devs intended? I don't expect him to say those types of things. He is doing what he is told to do. He gets hired, and that's on him. If he feels like he can put his head on his pillow at night and feel like what he did was on the up and up and was ethical. That's his own conscience, and whatever God he answers to, that's between him and that. I'm not sitting here trying to take the man to court. Okay, what I'm saying is the company knew, and the marketing was structured around what they knew. They knew the game wouldn't be ready at launch, and they knew the game was going to run poorly on console. They bring him in, and all the marketing was structured around hiding that. You have to see it for what it is. They structured everything around that. The trailers on PlayStation, the podcast appearances, his answers, when they dropped the specs, how they took a PlayStation 5 Pro to John Linneman's house with the game pre-installed. All of that was by design. It was all designed to keep the public in the dark. That's why I was so strongly critical and still am strongly critical. It wasn't an accident. These were volitional, willful choices that were made so that people were misled. The intention was to mislead you to get money. That is wrong. I don't care that they're fixing it now. I don't care that they're listening. And I don't care about the player numbers and the score on Steam. None of that cleanses those actions. It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, if you mislead the public for money, there should be consequences. And in this case, there isn't. You just get a bunch of people doing Defense Force and yelling at creators like myself that the game is great, and I'm just angry about the game doing great. If you're having fun, wonderful. If you like the game, great. If the patches are fixing your experience, that's great. That has nothing to do with everything I said in the lead up to the game's launch and everything that I've said after the game's launch. It's this generation's Cyberpunk. The most misleading marketing campaign I think I've ever seen, and the people on console get shafted. And it all gets hand-waved because it has a 75% on Steam. and lots of people playing. Does Rage read YouTube chat? I do. Pearl Abyss is sketchy, you said. No console footage pre-launch. Intel Arc incompatibility not communicated. Defied Steam rules with the no AI tag. Yeah, if Steam... This is another thing. This is funny because I don't even care about this, but if Steam dictates that you're supposed to disclose that, I got news for you. We haven't even cracked the full egg on how much AI is in this game. Dollars to donuts, they used AI a bunch. I wouldn't be surprised if they used generative AI for a lot of the script and a lot of the writing and a lot of the story. That wouldn't shock me at all. I don't even think we've cracked that egg yet. And if they're supposed to disclose that according to the terms and conditions of the Steam marketplace, that is another instance of them being dishonest. That's another instance of them being dishonest. I don't care about that, by the way. I don't need that disclosed to me. There are people that get very, very sanctimonious about the AI thing. I am not one of those people. I get where people are coming from. I don't see the situation the same way you do. I'm not going to pearl clutch over AI in a game. I'm not. The Punisher returns to Disney on May 12th. Punisher One Last Kill. Wait. It's a Marvel television special presentation. Oh, is that going to be a movie? This is real, too. This isn't a fake account. Yeah. Frank Castle returns in a Marvel television special presentation, The Punisher One Last Kill, on May the 12th. Sick. That's my boy. That's my boy. That's Johnny Bernthal. Punisher's pretty cringe in the Spider-Man trailer. I haven't even watched it yet. So you're saying this is on Pearl Abyss as a developer? You're saying they use tons of AI that they didn't disclose? I am saying that my speculation and guess is that we haven't even begun to crack the egg on how much AI is in the game. That would be my guess. I think that the paintings on the wall are just the first thing that has been found. I didn't watch yesterday. Can you please tell me what's all the fuzz in the PC launcher? It was a rumor, and Jason Schreier basically said that it's not happening. That PlayStation is still pulling out of PC. They're not going to be putting their tentpole titles on PC any longer. Jason Schreier from Bloomberg anticipates an answer being forthcoming, either in the marketing of Saros or an earnings call. That was the insinuation. The Pearl Abyss used AI willfully more than they admitted and are lying to the public. False in one thing, false in everything. I think they're liars. I think they're dishonest. I don't trust them at all. They've consistently lied and misled the public. Why would we trust them that it was just placeholders? There are already developers chiming in and saying those were probably not placeholders. They're like, you don't use placeholders that can get lost in the shuffle. You use placeholders that visibly look bad so you can go back and replace them. Those paintings were literally put in there not as placeholders. You have to understand, like other developers, like, yeah, you don't do that with placeholders. You don't make them look convincing so that you miss them. Like the texture placeholders that Expedition 33 forgot to remove, they were obvious. They were like texture placeholders. They weren't literal pieces of artwork. I don't trust them at all. Like, false in one thing, false in everything. They've been so consistently misleading and dishonest. Why would we trust them about this AI thing? And I don't even care that they did it. What I'm saying is, I would not take their word for it. In Pearl Abyss's apology, it was in the framing. We used AI and didn't think you'd notice. They tried to be slick about it. Best believe there's more. Oh, for sure. And I don't even care. That's what's funny is like I don't even care about it. I'm like, I don't care if they used AI, but I'm saying I would not take their first answer as the answer. There's probably more AI in the game. What they're doing right now is they're doing damage control to maintain sales velocity, to maintain, the public being satiated. They're going to keep patching it. keep improving it. They've made a ton of money. So I don't think they're being forthright about it. They're not. They haven't been forthright about a ton of things. The placeholder assets did look bad. I mean, the one painting that got caught, I wouldn't have noticed that. I mean, unless I stopped to like really look at it. I mean, you had to really do like a double take. I mean, most of the time stuff like that in the background, I don't pay any attention to it. Maybe like a really, really big ornate painting, but it was kind of like small and like off to the side. I wouldn't have noticed it. This all being said, we need to have the same energy for The Witcher 4 and CD Projekt, the Cyberpunk Scandal, sequel, I'm sorry, or anything coming from CD Projekt Red. Oh, I don't think they're going to make the same mistake again. CD Projekt Red's not going to, I mean, I would hope they wouldn't. Daniel Owen did a piece on Crimson Desert and Intel GPU, and the game doesn't even run. They flat out ignored Intel after Intel offered help with engineering and driver support. Pearl seems sleazy. I don't know if the devs are sleazy. I think the devs were doing everything they could to ship the game. I think the devs were doing everything they could to get that dadgum game out the door. That's what I think was going on. I don't think they were like, yeah, just ignore those guys over there. We don't need to talk to them. I think it was we're all hands on deck to get this game out the door. That's my estimation as to what was going on. McDonald's has officially revealed their collab with K-pop Demon Hunters. Oh my gosh, my kids are gonna die. Yeah, I think the AI paintings are like the most non-issue. I don't even think they're a big deal. I don't even think they're that big of a deal. I really don't. CD Projekt Red, if they were going to make the game, same mistake again, Phantom Liberty would have been cheeks. Yeah, I think Phantom Liberty really put them back into a good grace position with me. Like, I trust CD Projekt Red after Phantom Liberty. Yeah. I do. Die from heart disease. Kid's going to be eating Happy Meals for a while. We usually only let my son get like one a week. He'll usually get one like on a Sunday. And then my daughter doesn't want the food. She just wants the toy. Because of her allergy, she won't eat the food. She has an egg allergy, so it's like it's just not worth taking the risk. It just isn't safe. CD Projekt Red said that The Witcher 4 would run at 4K 60 FPS with ray tracing on a base PS5. I don't believe them for a second. Where did they say that? I don't recall them saying that phrase, and that's the specificity that you've spoken with. I don't know if that's ever been stated by CD Projekt Red. Your claim is that they said The Witcher 4 will run at 4K 60 with ray tracing on the base PS5. Where was this stated? I don't remember them saying that to that level of specifics. They haven't done any marketing for the game at all. They did an Unreal demo presentation at the GDC where they did that? That was like a collaborative demo with Unreal. I don't remember them stating what you're stating. A lot of people took issue with that demo, but they had to you got to have to remember that wasn't marketing for the game. That was a demo to developers. They were showing off what you can do in Unreal. They said that when they showed the footage of Ciri walking around. I bet you they don't say that in the footage. I bet you they don't. So you're telling me that if I go and I find this clip from the State of Unreal live stream, that they definitively and specifically state they will run that game at 4K 60 with ray tracing turned on the base PS5. That's what they state in the footage. You're not twisting words or anything. You're saying they state that. June 2025 tech demo, The Witcher game demonstrated 60 FPS gameplay with ray tracing on a base PS5. Okay. Did they say it was running at 4K? Did they speak to upscaling at all? Like, were they using some sort of new method of upscaling to do that? Because 60 FPS with ray tracing is impressive on a base PS5. They said it, I'm 90% sure. I would love to know what they're doing to achieve that. They said they had the demo running at 60 with headroom to spare due to optimization of UE 5.7. Listen, if they pull that off, it goes to credit of what we were just talking about. The engines get better and optimization of the hardware gets better. It does. Like, there are breakthroughs at times in the late life of the gen. We were just talking about that a little bit ago. Like, when you get later in the gen, these types of breakthroughs happen. I believe that when I see it. That seems too ambitious. The tech demo was just slow walking. Well, yeah, you can slow walk through the Crimson Desert town and it still isn't going to get 60 FPS. No matter how slow I walk through the town, the frame rate drops to 40. You don't notice it until you turn the camera, but you can watch the one guy's, he does a tech breakdown of Crimson Desert. You walking slow doesn't magically give you 60. I found the exact moment he's referring to. He's wrong. I'll make the clip in Discord. I'm so surprised. Everything in me knew that didn't sound right. I'm like, they spoke with that level of specificity? That seems kind of crazy to me. Like, 60 FPS with ray tracing on its own is impressive on the console. Because typically, as soon as you turn on the ray tracing mode, you don't get 60 FPS on the base PS5. Doesn't say 4K. Why can't I hear myself? Oh. I couldn't hear myself. I was like, what the frick is going on? I'm so shocked that the claim was made and it's not backed up. This has never happened before. Ever in the history of me doing streams.
This is a technological showcase set in the world of The Witcher 4. What you just saw and are going to see now is running on a standard PlayStation 5 at 60 FPS with ray tracing. So in the game, you'll be playing as Ciri, a professional monster slayer.
It's still impressive, but he didn't say what you said. I also think you need to go back and read what you said and listen to what he said. He said, what you're looking at now is The Witcher 4 running on a base PlayStation 5 with ray tracing at 60 FPS. Why is it so grainy? Hang on. Whose is this? This is IGN's. Yeah, IGN's probably re-uploaded the footage. It didn't look like this originally. I remember watching this. Yeah, no 4K. You stand corrected. The other problem is they didn't promise that that's what you were going to get, homie. They didn't promise that. They weren't like, oh, no, yeah, Witcher 4, base PS5. Yeah, 4K 60 ray tracing. He just said what you're looking at right now. So I think what he's trying to demonstrate, again, it was a demo. It was a demo of the engine. He's saying we're achieving something pretty incredible here on a base PS5. That doesn't mean that that's how you're going to ship the game. It doesn't. You may ship the game and not do that. You may turn some of those settings off. You may lower draw distance. You may use half of the ray tracing suite and not the full, or whatever they were using there. But this looks ridiculous. I don't think they will achieve this level of visuals at 60 with ray tracing on. Well, I think you're presuming that nothing will change, and that's typically not how these pieces of technology work. Like, the technology tends to get better. That's why I've gotten really, really ramped up and passionate when people are like, yeah, I mean, the consoles are old. What do you expect, Lono? And I'm like, what? Like, we typically get better results the further you get in the gen, not worse. You know what I mean? Like, do you see, like, your position isn't necessarily a bad position. I think there's a reasonableness to stating, I don't think they're going to get those level of visuals and ray tracing and maintain 60 frames per second. Why do you think that? Well, because of the pattern up to now. So I think that's a reasonable position. But I think your position presumes that nothing changes, that they don't get better at certain things, or there are no breakthroughs with ray tracing, or Unreal is able to implement elements of ray tracing maybe in ways that leave more headroom. We just don't know. Unreal could get better at, some of the upscaling. We just don't know. I think your position's reasonable, but it presumes something that I don't necessarily know is common. We commonly get into the late stages of a gen, and they get better at certain things. David Jones says, I love your channel, bro. Love when you call them out and they get in their feels. Appreciate you. Thank you. I'll be happy to be proven wrong, though. I want them to achieve this. This is why I think your position is reasonable, because you're basically like, I don't think that's going to be possible, so you're tempering your expectations. But I also think you need to be careful, because you were like, well, they promised it was going to do this. I don't know the exact phrasing that you used, and you're like, if they don't, then they lied or whatever. I don't know exactly what you said. You said, CD Projekt Red said that The Witcher 4 would run at 4K 60 FPS with ray tracing on a base PS5. I don't believe them for a second. So we need to be careful that, we're not holding them to a promise they never really stated. Speaking to the tech experts at Digital Foundry after the demo reveal, CD Projekt Red's VP of Technology, Charles Tremblay, explained why the studio showed off the Witcher 4 tech demo running on PS5 first before PC, saying it's going for a console-first development approach for the game. Quote, we always do PC and we push and then we try to scale down, he said. But then we had so many problems in the past that we tried to say this time around we really want to be more console-first development. So, to your point, the history isn't good for games that have tried to do ray tracing and maintain 60. Fair point. They're going with a console-first development strategy because it bit them on the rear end with Cyberpunk. I mean, he's not saying it, but he's saying it. He's like, yeah, we built for PC and then we would scale down. And that bit us square on the rear end with Cyberpunk. We ended up looking pretty dumb. So we're going to go in the other direction now. He also doesn't say this is The Witcher 4. He said, this is a technological showcase set in the world of Witcher 4. That's also really important to point out, Omar, is that it was a technical collaborative demo, right? It was a technical collaborative demo. Like CD Projekt Red partnered with Unreal and Epic to do that demo to basically say, let's create something in the world of Witcher just to kind of showcase what is possible with some of the advancements within this engine. Can we stop caring about 6-year-old hardware? Why would we do that? Should we also stop caring about the vast majority of people on PC because their hardware is outdated? Do you think that's a good strategy for developers? How close are we to hitting the point where trying to get into PC gaming, says Mike Straw, or gaming in general, is becoming yet another case of hobby for the wealthy or well-off? Once prices hit a certain mark and people continue to pay, they will never come down again. So like the Matrix demo? Kind of. Kind of. Why do they want to shove ray tracing down our throats? Well, I used to be on team anti-ray tracing because I thought it was a gimmick that just killed performance. And I was incorrect in my assessment. So I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for people who think that way. Allow me to try to help you see it differently, because I used to agree with you. I think ray tracing, no blip on my end, I think ray tracing, and in particular global illumination, is one of the best visual lifts of a game that I've seen in recent technical pushes within games. I think ray tracing GI, ray tracing global illumination, is one of the biggest visual lifts I've seen in gaming. I think it's better than just trying to push resolution. I think it's better than trying to push reflections. It just creates an immediate visual lift. And I think you need to look at the side-by-sides of Assassin's Creed Shadows to see that immediate visual lift. Like, it looks like a different game. It does. The other reason that it isn't going away, and the other reason it's not necessarily getting shoved down our throats, developers like it because it speeds up development time, because it automates a lot of the lighting work that they have to do. So, I would get used to it and be glad that they're getting better at it, because it's not going away. It was a gimmick for a while, says Zubair. It didn't look better than the old techniques. Now that it's matured, it makes a big difference. That's another fair thing to point out. Years ago, it just felt like a gimmick, and it was like you're just killing performance, and it didn't look all that much better than what we call that raster lighting. It didn't look all that much better. Now, the visual lift is just immediate. It just looks incredible. It's like, wow. It is transformative. So I think that's why you're just going to see more ray tracing. You just are. And when you have hardware that can run it well, like the PS5 Pro and then the PlayStation 6, I think the dilemma goes away. I want you to think about something. The PlayStation 5 Pro is basically a demo of what the PlayStation 6 is going to be capable of. Okay? Do you see any games struggling on the Pro when you turn ray tracing on? Right? I mean, obviously, we're not talking Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert, I think, runs very poorly on the Pro. For what the Pro offers and what the Pro has given me in virtually every game I've played, Crimson Desert is well below standard, in my opinion. So everything else, though, if you look at Death Stranding 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Yote, none of these games struggle with ray tracing. They look and run beautifully on the Pro. The Pro is just like the first salvo of what Sony hardware can do long term. So if that floor raises and the PlayStation 6 just out of the box is like, yeah, ray tracing's not a problem. Yeah, ray tracing in 60 FPS, that's no big deal. That's easy. We benefit because developers then can just make games, use the lighting. They don't have to, it speeds up development, and it's a great visual lift. Like, it makes games just look so good. That is why ray tracing isn't a gimmick that just kills performance anymore, because number one, they're getting better at it. Number two, it's a massive visual lift on games. And number three, the hardware going forward will be built to shoulder it. It will. It'll be built to shoulder it. So, guys, do me a quick favor and hit the like button. Try to get us to 400 likes. We're a little behind pace on the week. We started really strong, so make sure your memberships are updated. Also, do me a quick favor. If you watch daily and enjoy the show, you enjoy the fact that I'm safe for work, consider supporting directly. We are trying to hit a membership goal. We would like to get to 600 paying members. Currently, we have 547 paying members. So if you hit join for $5 a month, you get a badge, you get emotes, and you get into our members-only Discord. We've been streaming for about 3.5 hours. I think that's like the second time I've mentioned that, so we don't like to focus on it too much, but that is quite literally how I do this full-time. You'll notice the channel's not super large. We do this as a fan-funded operation. So if you can do that, it helps me out, and it gets you into our Discord, and you become a part of what we're doing here, and you can help us hit that goal. If you can't do that, it's totally understandable. You can hit like, you can hit subscribe, and you can keep showing up every day just to listen, lurk, and be a part of the community. I really hope they also put it on high-end CPUs on the PS6 to decrease dynamics. I'm not sure what you mean. Should I trade in my base and upgrade to the Pro or wait? It depends on what you want out of it, Henry. If you're happy to wait for the PlayStation 6, I would say Crimson Desert is a great test case for just how different a game can be experienced on the Pro versus the base PS5. GTA 6 will likely be just as different. I am not saying that GTA 6 is going to be some solid 60 FPS experience on the Pro, but when you've got a really big world and you got really, really impressive things going on with, like, wow, there's lots of NPCs and lighting and all this, that's what GTA 6 is promising. The PS5 Pro is markedly better than the base PS5 in a game like Crimson Desert. I still argue it's subpar, but I'm talking about the difference. If you look at the chasm of difference between, like, how the game looks and runs on base PS5 versus Pro, I think that's a glimmer of how much better the experience is going to be for GTA 6 on the Pro, which means the Pro could be worth it to you. Or if you're like, I play Brotato and Borderlands, well, then you're fine. You don't need the Pro. I don't have a good PC, so mostly I game on PS5 for new games. So if you bought like Resident Evil 9, if you're going to buy Saros and Wolverine and Phantom Blade Zero, if you're going to buy GTA 6, I personally think the Pro is worth it. And if you upgrade now before prices change, you can trade in your base PS5. So your upgrade cost is not that exorbitant. Like, I don't know, you'll probably spend $300 maybe. I don't think that's that bad. I think that's a pretty good deal. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying the value of the Pro is going up. The price hasn't. It's stuck at what, $750. If it can stay there for the long haul, I'm here to tell you that the value of the Pro is going up. It is. It's the inverse of a scam. Everybody called it a scam. It's the inverse of a scam. It's something that we bought that has increased in value over time. It's like the literal opposite. So now is a good time to do it because console prices haven't moved. They could move again. The Pro could be $799 beginning of next year. It's a possibility. It could go up again. $799 is going to be, that's a rough ticket price, and they don't want to do it, but they might not be able to come January. They have enough RAM to weather the storm through holiday this year. After that, it's a big question mark. Sony spoke specifically to this in an earnings call. So if you guys forgot to hit the like button, double check that it's saving your like. We need 24 more likes to 400 likes. Appreciate it so much. Check your primes. Check your renewals as well if you hit that $sign. Bloomberg, Nintendo cut Switch 2 output by over 30% on weak U.S. sales. The company plans to make 4 million units of its flagship device this quarter, a third less than the 6 million it had originally planned to produce. The reduced output rate is set to continue in April. I'm telling you. Do you want to know why the Switch's sales are slowing down? I'm telling you, it's the delays. The third-party games keep getting delayed. I think confidence in the Switch 2 is waning for people. It had really high demand initially. It looked really promising. It was like, ooh, Mario Kart and third-party games. Ooh, Mario Kart and Dust Bloods, like a FromSoft exclusive. And yeah, it's also the economy isn't doing great, Rope. I think that's also true. But I also think optics on the Switch 2 are a bit damaged. I think people are paying attention, and they're like, games keep getting delayed for the Switch 2. Your non-hardcore Nintendo fans are probably like, I don't know, man. I was thinking about it, but we keep seeing third-party games getting delayed. That's worrisome, you know? I'd argue there aren't that many first-party games just yet. I think that's hurt it as well, Omar. I think it's kind of getting hit from both sides. If you don't have that killer Nintendo app like a Breath of the Wild or something, you know, Mario Kart is Mario Kart, but Mario Kart is just more Mario Kart. It's not like Breath of the Wild was sort of seismic within the franchise. It's like, what the heck is this? Mario Kart can't really do that. They need like a new Mario or Zelda. I agree. I always said chasing fidelity would hurt Nintendo. Yeah, Metroid flopped. That is true. Metroid did not do very well at all. I think that probably hurt them. You know, to have a mainline game come out and perform that poorly, that probably hurt them. Yeah. They're almost competing with PlayStation again with all this third party. Pokopia is killing it right now, apparently. Well, and Pokopia adoption rates could turn the tide for them, like word of mouth and the reviews and stuff. Pokopia, I don't know what the sales percentages look like. Could certainly end up being a game that does better in the Asian market than US, because the sales report I just read is decreased demand of the Switch 2 in the US market. Pokopia might not be as popular in the US as it is in the Asian market. I don't actually know. I'm just speculating. The rumor is we're getting another 2D Metroid from Mercury Steam, potentially a Super Metroid remake. Oh my gosh, please. I want that so bad. Lono, school me, sir, please. Why in the world did Bungie choose such a tightrope for Marathon? Did they think 250,000 players would play this game daily, not catering to casuals? It's an interesting discussion, Unique, because I think we've kind of even reached the point where the folks that kind of defend that game and take up for the game, I think even they kind of see the writing on the wall, that it's not in a great spot. And they're sort of like, yeah, if in 6 months it's kind of on the decline and there's not enough people playing, I think people have kind of, they've almost conceded the point. I feel like people have kind of conceded the point. They're like, yeah, this game's probably not long for this world. Like, it just doesn't have a big enough player base to survive long term. And I think people are just going to come, I just think they're just coming to grips with that. I think there are people that are kind of accepting that this game probably will be maybe like a 1 year run. And then after that, probably not around. Or it just isn't going to have enough players. I think that's the main concern. There's no hate. There's no hit piece here. I just think even the people playing it are kind of seeing the writing on the wall. It's like, it just doesn't seem to have legs. You know? Any opinion on the layoffs at Epic? Yeah, it sucks. I mean, they were burning cash and saying they could do it for a long time, and then apparently not. So I think that comes down to leadership. I think Sweeney's got some explaining to do. Like, why are you burning cash and saying that you can do it for a long, long time, and then apparently you can't? That sounds like you were reckless and stupid, and now a bunch of people are losing their jobs because of it. I hate mid-console gen upgrades. The majority of console players are still on the base PS5. So now what, developers are going to focus on the Pro and not for the 10% of players? Base PS5 still shines big. So do you feel like that's happened at all with any games yet? Because I don't think there's an example of that happening. I think your worry is fine, but I don't think your worry has any grounds. Is there a single game that's done that? Yote looked and ran great on the base console. It also looked ridiculously good on the Pro. Same for Death Stranding 2. Do you think Saros or Wolverine are going to like screw you and not look good? Like, can you point to a single instance where like a game is kind of just like not built for PS5, just to Pro? And here's why. I'm gonna Crimson Desert. That's a third-party dev that lied to the public and had a game that wasn't ready at launch. That's not indicative of what the market's doing. That's indicative of a developer that you shouldn't trust or buy products from. They're liars. We can't use them as an example. A poorly optimized game is a poorly optimized game. That has nothing to do with the Pro. I mean, look at that game on the Xbox Series S. This has nothing to do with like a developer that's like, well, they targeted the Pro and the PS5 version got screwed over. Homie, the console version got screwed over by Crimson Desert. Like, what are we talking about? Sweeney, we can burn cash for forever, the shareholders. No, we can't. Like, right? Here's why it's not going to happen consistently. If a game runs well and is optimized for the Pro, it'll also be optimized for the base PS5, homie. The architecture is so similar. The structures are so similar. The approaches with like ray tracing and upscaling with PSSR shouldn't affect your base console version. It shouldn't. GTA. Again, I don't think so. GTA 6, I don't think it's going to make like their game for the Pro and like screw the base user. I just don't think so. GTA and Rockstar, like Rockstar has a good relationship with Sony, and I think that they know that would be very, very destructive to do. There are way more people on the base PS5. The bulk of the people that buy GTA 6 will buy it and play it on the base PS5. That's the majority of the consumers of GTA 6. Rockstar has to know that. You also have to understand something. Crimson Desert has sold most of its copies on PC. It's primarily a PC targeted audience. GTA 6 won't have that luxury, my friend. They need the people on the base PS5 to be happy because that's where most of their purchases are going to come from. Do you track with what I'm saying? Ain't no way Rockstar's going to walk out and be like, yeah, sorry, base PS5 kind of sucks. You got to buy a Pro. That is absolutely counterproductive for what they're trying to do. Like, Rockstar needs this thing to run, if anything, if you're not on PlayStation, your concern would be more valid. Because Rockstar has the strongest and the biggest motivation to make sure the PlayStation audience is happy. It's going to be their biggest audience. It's going to be where most of their money comes from. Not the Pro and not Xbox. Base PS5 owners are the cash cow for GTA 6. So base PS5 owners can probably rest easy. Now, that doesn't mean you're getting 60 FPS. I think they're going to try, and I don't think they're going to do it very well. I think it's going to be really inelegant, but I think they're going to try and get you a 60 FPS performance mode on base PS5s. It'll probably be pretty inconsistent. It'll probably be slightly more consistent on the Pro, but I don't think so. They're going to give you a performance mode. They're going to try. I don't think it's going to be all that elegant. And I don't even know if they're going to be able to consistently hit it. It'll probably be pretty inconsistent. Is it going to run like garbage for the sake of their dollars and profit? Probably not, because that's the bulk of their audience. I can't wait to see John at Digital Foundry get a PlayStation 5 with GTA 6 pre-installed. Rockstar Games is an absolute beast at optimization, including on the PC. They optimize first on consoles. Here has been my theory about GTA 6 and 60 FPS. Rockstar has shown a strange and high level of interest in going back into their old games and giving them 60 FPS updates. I don't really know why you'd be doing that if you were going to push out GTA 6 and not be at 60 FPS. I would say that if we get the Red Dead 2 60 FPS update, then that pretty much lands that plane, which that's been rumored for a while. But if we get that update in Red Dead 2, yeah, I would imagine that they're going to give you a 60 FPS performance mode in GTA 6. I think they've been going back into their old games and experimenting with updates like that. And I think the reason that they're doing it is they're trying to figure out ways to do it in GTA 6. They're trying to basically run tests and experiments to be like, okay, where are there areas where we can get headroom and shave and move things around? GTA 5 on base PS5 is 60 FPS. I would expect the same for GTA 6. I think they went back and did those updates for the sole purpose of experimenting. That's what I think. That's my opinion. That doesn't mean it's going to be super elegant and run really, really well, but I think it's something that they're working on and trying to figure out. So, guys, if you don't mind, try to get me 15 more likes on the video, and I think we're going to call it and go to Green Room. That's a great reason for you to be a member. That's a great reason for you to help us with that goal. So consider clicking join. It's $5 a month. You can do the same on Twitch, $5 a month, and then you sync that with your Discord account and you get into the Green Room. It's basically a live call with me planning out the next day. And you support me directly and you help me do this full time. If you're like, yeah, I don't really do that, I just watch, That's totally fine. I know lots of people on YouTube especially don't do the membership thing. We don't do members content on YouTube because I don't want to clutter up your homepage, but we do content in the Discord. And then the weekly goal is for a Saturday night stream with my wife where we have her react to gaming news. So you guys can help with that goal when you become a member, and then every month when you renew, it adds to the goal as well. So you're always perpetually helping us with that. So I appreciate you guys so much. It was a lively day. It was a passionate day, but overall, most people were respectful, and we had a good time. So consider hitting that like button. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure your bell button is set to all. Some of those bell buttons are getting set to personalized, and you guys are missing shows. So double check that as well. And head over to the green room. And if you can't come to the green room, check out my latest video on the upload tab, on the video tab on YouTube. It's about how to use the new portal update, because there's instances where you don't want to use the new update. All right? Thanks.